I'm fucking cutting that off. It's a wrong intro video. You don't want to welcome all the players again. Fuck's sake.
I wonder.
I've got a cold. I've got a cold.
Sort it out.
Right. Hello, everyone. It's Claret and Booze. Welcome to the Sunday Night Booze Up. We will be doing our talkHAMMERS phone-in show once we've got through our list of our agenda. Sorry, we're running a bit late. We was all arguing over who was going to host tonight.
Yeah.
Because I'm really unwell. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. And neither of these two fuckers would help me. So... It's all.
I was sure I'd done it last week. You
didn't. You didn't. Right. Okay.
Right.
But anyway. I'm Nick. That's John. He don't do much, and that's Gary. He don't do much either.
Such a cock.
Right. Of us work for a living.
Oh no. Yeah. Righto. Okay. What we're going to talk about today, before we get into the talkHAMMERS bit. We're going to provoke some talking points. So everyone's been talking about the Youth Academy stuff. What I will say is, credit to Gary, you did this video. You did that video that everyone's been talking about this week. You did this about 5 weeks ago, didn't you?
I did, and everyone ignored it. It was a great video. It was a great video, right?
It was actually good.
It was good. I made this video, and I said to Nick, because sometimes when you make one of those solo videos, you sort of come off it and you think, oh, that was a bit, that weren't quite up to scratch. This one, I came off, I thought, that was a good video. That was a good video.
A lot of research went into that. A lot of research went into that.
And it was titled something like, Should we bother with the Academy? Right? And now, a few weeks later, everyone else has picked up on the narrative that I had in that video. I'm insulted.
I know. But we're gonna go over that again, because as we know, there's been some developments. We know about Equa and Ashby, although he hasn't gone yet. I don't think it was confirmed on Sky Sports that there's been a $3 million fee agreed. So we're going to touch on that. Then we're going to look at our, look like I say, look at the academy, look at our summer spend as well. When you look at, that popped up on Twitter earlier on, because we all know how well Brighton's doing. And that, what's his name? Cassiado and Mitomo, those two players. A combined 6.5 million for those two players that they've spent. It just makes you wonder, what would they do with 180 million? I don't understand why every club isn't following. I know. But why isn't every club trying to follow that kind of model? What are we fucking doing? It's just, are we big spenders or are we just big wasters? I think both are true, aren't they? We spend a lot of money, but we waste it.
Yeah, we do. We do. I mean, did you see that goal that Matoma scored? The winner.
Yeah, I know. Man flew Israel. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
I know. And then we're going to talk about Noble a little bit, because there's been quite a bit said about Noble over recent weeks. We're going to try and get to the bottom of what his role is. I don't think anyone really knows. And John's got a little bit to say about that. And then we'll look ahead to our FA Cup game against Derby. And then it's going to be phone-in time. All right? So that's what we're going to do. So first of all, the Youth Academy section. Gary, I'm going to spring this on you now, as you've already done all your research ages ago. Do you want to start off with that section? Do you want to start off with the Youth Academy bit?
Well, yeah, because when you look at what's happened in the Youth Academy in terms of first team chances that Youth Academy products have got, it is really, really limited. Now, you could look at it in two ways. You could say, oh, look at all of the academy players that that David Moyes has given a debut to. That is the one and only stat where David Moyes wins out, because he's done it in European games, for instance, where it means nothing. And then after that, you remember the one that we played, the big game where we played loads of kids. Forget who it was against now, but we played that game, and then hardly any of them got a kick afterwards. And I remember being particularly impressed that night by Longello. Everyone liked Longello that night. Alesi looked good. He looked solid. And when you look at the players who have moved on now, we were listing them earlier, weren't we? We were talking about the players who've moved on. You've got Perkins, who's gone to Leeds. You've got what's his name, who's on his way to Newcastle. Ashby. Yeah. You've got Alesi. You've got Pierre
Equa.
Yeah, you fill in the blanks for me. and these players, they you know,
going back a little bit further as well. Obviously, we've got Cullen who. Yeah. When through our youth system, I put this on Twitter ages ago. Sorry, Gal, and basically when you look at Cullen, going back to something that Steve Potts said on a recent event that he did. There's a clip it floating around. I think it was on Russ Budden's show. He went to an event and he took some video, and they asked Steve Potts a question about are there any youth products that didn't make it at West Ham that you thought would, and he said Josh Cullen. He said he's one of the most professional kids, great attitude, brilliant, good technical ability. Everything about him is perfect. Amazingly hard trainer. We kept him in that kind of under 23 setup, up until he was what, 23. Then we farmed him out on loan once. Couldn't have done any better than what he did on that one. He did the same again the following year, and then we brought him back and we released him at 24. Now, all credit to him. He's gone abroad. He's kind of rebuilt his career as a mid-20s failure. Has come from West Ham, which is what a lot of them will feel like once you've been released and you've been rejected from a Premier League club. He's built that back up and he's done well there. He's gone back to Burnley. But what I'm saying is, when you look at what Declan Rice has done between the age of 18, when you look back at what Declan Rice was when he came in, he made a lot of mistakes as a defender.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
A lot of faith was shown in him, and he's developed year after year after year through being in that first team setup. So that's 6 years where Josh Cullen didn't have that. Declan Rice has turned into a superstar. I'm not saying that Josh Cullen would have, but he would be a damn sight further forward than what he is now. Because if Rice had followed that path that Cullen's done, Rice would be half the player he is now.
I think it's interesting when you say about Rice, they showed faith in Rice. Okay.
Yeah,
because I was going to use the word faith to describe Cullen, because what you got to remember is Cullen was in and around the first team squad a lot. He was mentioned a lot. We all knew about him. We've seen him play snippets in cup games and whatever else. The reason he's doing so well now, in my opinion, and yes, it is only the Championship. He hasn't cut his teeth in the Premier League yet, right? I get that. The faith is being shown in him by Vincent Kompany, because you remember he took him to
100%.
Belgium. And he's brought him back to Burnley.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you show a little bit of faith in a youngster, that is going to incentivize them to possibly knuckle down even further, try that bit harder.
Yeah.
I mean, Company's seen something in him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought him back to Burnley, right?
He's rebuilt his confidence for it, because it must have. I mean, he must have had a bit of confidence to have gone to Anderlecht in the first place. But you can see it's all too easy. When you look on Twitter, it's far too easy for people to go, when a player gets cast aside, oh, they must be shit. What other players ever gone to left West Ham and proved them wrong? Well, I am sorry, very few young players are going to recover from being rejected. It's the rejection thing is, most young players make it in their home environment.
You've got two routes into the first team. You've got either go out, get sent out on loan and prove yourself playing for another team, right? That should be one route through into the first team, because you're going away and you're proving yourself playing competitive football, right? Yeah. Or there's another route where you actually get routed directly into the first team. Now, Cullen did nothing wrong, because wherever he went out on loan, they absolutely loved him. I think he got Player of the Year at one of the places that he went, and then he ended up going to being sold to Anderlecht. And really, that for Anderlecht to be interested in one of our players, that should have been a red flag straight away, right? Yeah. I don't know what you can do, what Cullen could have done differently.
Yeah,
to have got himself into the first team at West Ham. I don't think he could have done anything else. He did everything imaginable to get into the first team at West Ham.
I'm going to throw this up because Nigel likes to be inflammatory. This must have been when I said I don't understand why more teams don't follow the Brighton model. That's Nigel's answer.
Well, the Brighton model is absolutely fantastic.
So Nigel, you think that we are run better than Brighton?
Well, look, you mentioned it earlier, Nick, at the
just
beginning.
Just argues for argument's sake. That's all he does.
Where you said at the beginning, you said, are we spending money? Are we investing big money, or are we wasting big money, or worse to that effect? Well, we're wasting big money, aren't we? I mean, Brighton would never go and spend 50 million on a Paqueta. They would never go and spend 35 million on a Scamacca, right? They have, to put it I think it was Grant who said this the other week, and I've read about it since as well. It's a Moneyball type of thing, but it's a proprietary algorithm that's owned by the owner of the club, who's basically he's very much into sports betting, and he's a software guy. Him and one other person know about this algorithm, what it does. Basically, it brings together a load of data, and it makes selections of players to based on that data, players from around Europe and around the world that they think might fit the style of football that Brighton play. And then they use their scouting system, their extensive scouting system, to go and double check on these players, and then they bring people in for bugger all. So Matoma, the guy that scored the winner today, fantastic goal, $2.5 million. Calciado, they've just turned down 60 million for him.
Yeah.
And they want 75 million, 4 million quid they paid for him. This is happening over and over again.
I know.
Yeah, but we started talking about West Ham's youth setup, and we've got onto Brighton pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about the Brighton model, which is probably quite representative of what the Red Bull model is, that they buy players cheap. But they buy players cheap. They get them good or get them well known, get them playing well, but they sell them quite quickly. So would we be? I'm playing devil's advocate here. Would we be happy to do that exact model and sell our best players on?
If I had the confidence that we had a conveyor belt system whereby when one player went, we knew that there was going to be another player coming in and filling in. Yeah, I'd cope with it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would agree with that because with us, it's all or nothing, right? We get a good player once in a blue moon, and we're desperate to hold on to them because we don't know when the next good player is going to come along. With Brighton, there seems to be a production line of good players.
At Brighton, their fans probably know if they're selling a player, they probably know that Brighton have already got a player to come in. And
they're probably conditioned now so that they don't care. They're probably conditioned now, especially after the manager thing, that they know even if someone comes in and plucks their manager, they're going to know where the next manager is coming from.
Yeah, I wonder what the algorithm would say about David Moyes, but that's another question.
Rated very highly.
But Gary, we digress. That was my fault. Carry on about the our academy anyway.
So look, we've wasted. There is no route through to the first team, and I thought this was one of the reasons why this was actually in the public, the job description that the club put out for Mark Noble was that he was going to start plotting a route through from the youth team to the first team. I don't know whether he sees that as his job, and I don't know what the falling out was during the week, whether that's to do with the signing of Danny Ings or the fact that he's not as involved in the first team as he wants to be. All of these things mooted. But anyway, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it because we're wasting that academy. When you consider, we added it up earlier, there's 7 players. I'm not going to list them all off because it'll take me about half hour to list them all off, but 7 players who have gone on to prove themselves either abroad or in the Championship, playing regular first team football. Bear in mind we've signed quite a few players from the Championship ourselves. These are players who we've spent umpteen years training them from kids. How much money have we invested? How much time have we invested? And all we're doing at the end of the day is handing those players across to someone else to use. Whereas, if you look back at our season last season and this season, where we've had problems defensively, shortages in centre half, shortages at left back and right back, and you look at players like Lacey, like Longello, like Harrison Ashby, people like that. Why have they not got a chance? Why did David Moyes not see fit to even give them a chance? Whereas he would bring someone like Kehrer in, and I'm not going to character assassinate Kehrer. I just don't think he's settled yet. But he'll bring Kehrer in, and he'll give him a run of 6, 7, 8 games. Let him screw up repeatedly, right? But he won't do that with a kid. I'd much rather see a kid come in and sort of
give him a chance. It was like the substitutions last year. It was always Yarmolenko and Masuaku, for the last 10, 15 minutes, probably just so he could keep them happy with their appearance bonuses, because we know that's what David Moyes likes to do. He likes to keep his senior players happy. But those were opportunities where he had 2 players there that should have just been backups if we needed them. But you just give them time. I'm not saying throw all the kids in. But we should have been seeing 1 or 2. David Moyes has been here for 3 years now. That is long enough to have identified one player and as a project himself and brought one player through.
He hasn't brought one through. He hasn't brought one through.
No.
I think if we talk about Ashby made his debut. He played against Tottenham away as well when he done fairly well as well.
He was very well,
And I'll be totally honest with you, because I don't keep a massive eye across the under 23s or under 8s. I don't, right? I genuinely don't. I have a little nose now and again. I didn't know too much about him. He came on the scene pretty quickly for me, but I remember pretty quickly the whole thing about out of contract in the summer, wages, that came out of nowhere with him fairly quickly. And I remember he went missing. He wasn't in the squad, and I couldn't really understand what was happening with that whole situation. So with Ashby, and I don't want to come across as negative towards Ashby, but I don't know if Ashby was a different kettle of fish with that, because I sort of got the impression that they like Longhello. They must like Longhello because they haven't cashed in on him. They've got him on loan at Birmingham, so they want to keep him, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
With Ashby, I felt that Ashby was going to be given more of a go, but something changed very quickly, and I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that was.
Nigel, look, now that's what I call sacking Moyes, episode 53. It's better than now that's what I call tongue punching Moyes, isn't it? Episode 53, which is what you go on.
I never said that, wasn't me. Fucking hell.
Oh, it's true, don't it? Good.
But this is a good
Get
point
on here, Nigel. Let's have a tear up. Come on.
This is a good point from Gatesy, right? Let's look at this. We have the academy as part of our history, our DNA, and it is being completely roughshod over.
Exactly, okay. Gatesy. It is. It's not. This should be, our manager should be seeing the academy as a source of players. As he should be, for instance, he doesn't even put youth players on the bench if he's got a senior professional to put on the bench. There's his squad seniority system that he runs, where no matter how bad you are, if you're a senior pro, you take priority over the kids. Kids not getting a chance, right?
Yeah.
He should be looking first and foremost. It should be of equal priority, right? I'm not saying the kid should be more important, but it should be of equal priority. He should be looking at every kid and talking to those coaches and seeing who's ready for a run out in the first team, or at least a 10 minutes at the end of a game in the first team. Like Mabama, he came on, what was it? Brentford he came on for, I think. No, it wasn't Brentford. It was another game that we lost anyway. He came on for like the last 10 minutes. And I really enjoyed watching him. I thought he did really well. Hasn't been near the team since.
No. I know. It is difficult. I mean, I think it might be, it's Gio and Gonzo both made the same point, to be quite honest, where that they said the only reason that David Moyes uses youth players isn't to see what they can do. It's when you've got dead rubber games where he wants to rest his senior players.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
that's basically it. Yeah. A player could come. Mabama could come on after Antonio's played 10 games and hasn't scored. And I know everyone knows, or should do. I've always backed up Antonio. I've always been a supporter of him. Using him as an example, though. Antonio could have had a run of games, 10 games where he ain't scored. Mabama could come on in the cup, score a hat-trick. He wouldn't be playing in front of Antonio.
It's funny you mention it, though, because that's exactly what happened. He took Antonio off for the last 10 minutes and put Mabama on to give Antonio a rest.
What, against Brentford?
No, well, I don't think it was Brentford. It was a game that we lost. It was another away game that we lost. Another miserable away game.
But that is what he does.
I think the thing that's annoying for me is that, okay, we're the academy, self-proclaimed and all that. It's not even the fact that we get rid of these players. It's more of the fact is we know that under 18 and under 23 games are not that competitive. So how are you measuring if they can make it in the first team proper without really giving them an opportunity? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difficulty for me. But I know the academy is a tough thing to get through. Less than 1% make it and all that, blah, blah, blah. But how are they making their minds up if the under 18 and the under 23 leagues, as we've all said, and many people have said, is just so non-competitive? What are they measuring them against? I
don't know. It makes. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about Ashby in the chat still, and it's like Gatesy says here. I accept financially the Ashby deal was decent, but I think he could have been our right back for years. And the fact of the matter is, it's all very well people saying, oh, well, he wouldn't sign a contract, so they didn't play him. Well, Declan Rice ain't signing a contract. Dawson weren't going to sign a contract. So we know there was different reasons. Johnson ain't signing a contract. We've got plenty of players that are in that position. The fact of the matter is, they haven't made an example of Ashby by not playing him this year. David Moyes hasn't played him because David Moyes wouldn't play him. David Moyes has got other players that are not better than Ashby. They're not, because we've all seen him. But he's got other players that are ahead of him in the pecking order. And that is the reason. And that is the only way we could have got Ashby to sign, is if David Moyes, at the start of the season, started to give him game time. Then he could have spoken to Ashby. He could have, I'll tell you what else, he could have spoken to Ashby. He could have negotiated and said, see, you have got a path into the team. See, you have got a chance. Also, if he did well and we did sell him, we'd have got more money for him.
Yeah. And you can only believe, really. I mean, listen to what the words that came out of Ashby's mouth. He said the reason he's going is because he loves it at West Ham, but he don't see a route through to the first team.
There isn't one.
How can you say no? You're wrong, because look at the facts. He hasn't. There is no route through to the first team for him. It's exactly what Lacey said when he left.
Yeah, and Ekwa said something similar in the week as well. He said he's going somewhere where they give youth opportunity, they do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to really take Ekwa as a youth team academy product. We said this before we come on. We only got him when he was 19. I'm more concerned about the Ashbys and the Longellos and
but the thing is, you can't discard it, because this is the whole basis of the Moyes red bullshit model, isn't it? You know, bringing players in, you know, young players, and making them into good players, you know, and then selling them on and having a conveyor belt of talent. You don't just get players in from youth academies and just leave them to rot in yours.
It's nonsense.
What's the fucking point in that?
It's nonsense. What Moyes says about the Red Bull model, if this is his interpretation of the Red Bull model,
it was all bollocks. It's a soundbite for us lot.
And it's nonsense. What he says,
he thinks we're all fucking thick as shit.
A quote today from him. This is in Sean's article on 6 for 2. I use the Red Bull model as an example because I see them buying in young players for the future. No, that is not. That is a bit of a simplistic representation of the Red Bull model. The Red Bull model is a network of clubs. For instance, you've got Leipzig, you've got Salzburg, and you've got FC Liefering, right? Now, Salzburg are Leipzig's feeder club. Liefering, Salzburg's feeder club. So they bring in players at the lower level, and the ones that make it get through to, you know, they get signed by Salzburg and then on to Leipzig. It is a feeder system, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing all these teams, and they do this in other sports as well, the one thing all these teams have in common is they play the same brand of football: aggressive, attractive, high intensity, high pressing football. The teams will be active with and without the ball, employing high and aggressive pressing system and looking to get runners in and behind the opposition defense when they have possession. That is what the Red Bull system is all about.
That is a style of football that produces players worth lots of money, attacking players. So that's all part of it. It's all part and parcel. You know, there's no point. You couldn't do it with the style of football that we play for a start.
No.
Because the only ones that are really going to flourish, well, I don't really know who actually flourishes in this type of system. I don't know.
So when he says that, they buy in the Red Bull model, they buy players and keep them for the future. Well, that's exactly what Moyes is doing. He's a bit like Lazao, the Brazilian we bought, one for the future. Bring him in, never play him. Right, the one that we were linked with the other day, the 19-year-old Brazilian who's been bashing in goals for Santos in Brazil. As one for the future. Bring him over. Yeah, he may have scored almost 30 goals in 50 games this season, but that don't mean he's good enough for the Premier League. He needs time to adapt. You know,
it is frustrating. And the thing is, I know, we're getting it all the time. We got a win, didn't we? We got a win. So now there's all the negativity crushes are out there. Now, look, I'm sorry. Anyone that's been following this channel for long enough, we're not a negative channel. We report on West Ham. What we are is honest. So we will reflect what's happening in the world of West Ham, okay? At the moment, if anyone can throw me any positives from the past this season, please feel free to tell me what you would come on and fucking, even if you was bullshitting, I would struggle. There are channels that manage it. I don't know, but it's just an art. But hey, on KUMB or Cum, as I like to call it, we got our own fucking.
That's what it's called, though, Nick.
Cum. We've got our own fucking Claret and Booze hate group with about 5 people in there going fucking miserable. Do you know what I mean? I'm not being funny. It ain't compulsory, but we don't trick people. We don't clickbait. Even our thumbnails reflect what's in the fucking video. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. It's as simple as that.
Ooh,
that is the angry. That is the funny thing. We make no money from this. This is a sideline. It's a sideline. We play around on this. We've all got full-time jobs, right? These are our genuine opinions. If if these people who clearly don't watch the channel, they just watch the videos we've made lately and the titles, right? But if you'd have bothered to watch the channel, like the people in the chat here, you'd realise that Nick went first. In fact, he's always Abe Moyes, but he went first, right? Yeah. I went a long time after Nick, and then John went a little while after me, right?
Yeah,
I didn't go to Crystal Palace.
John flip flop for a bit because he likes to flip flop.
He was fence sitting for a long time.
I've still said to you, I can't see it changing, but if Moyes turn it round, I would still support him. But I just don't see it changing. Anyway, we're not talking about that at a minute, are we? So
let's
not get sidetracked on that. But I just think with the whole Moyes thing, but can we look prior to Moyes and even under the stewardship of Sullivan and Gold? Have we really been any different with blooding in youngsters? I know we've got Rice and Johnson, but apart from that, if you go back over their time at the club, how many youngsters have we actually really given a shot to? When you consider we've signed over 50 strikers, for example,
that is a bad stat, isn't it? Was it over 20 of them ain't scored?
When you consider
22 strikers have never scored for us. Yeah.
When you consider most of our managers,
go on, Gal, go on.
Most of our managers, John, just in response to that point, most of our managers have struggled. They've had a good season, maybe 2 seasons, and then they've struggled. But the couple who have played young players are. Zola played young players. Bilic, definitely, he's the one who brought Johnson on. Was it Bilic? Yeah,
that's one. Though.
And then, no, it's one. But when you're looking at ratios of players who make it, it's one in God knows how many, right? So one a season or something like that. If you can create one first team player, one regular first team player a season, even one every 2 seasons, that can be seen as productive.
But they are often found by mistake. I mean, I was I was talking to Sam Hollis earlier on. He trained my boys earlier. John, he took the team. I was talking to him, and he was talking about he's involved in sort of academy setups and stuff like that. And he said quite often the players. He used Harry Kane as an example. Quite often the players that get picked, I think, and Declan Rice is an example. The ones that make it are not the starlets from the academy. You don't know until you put them on the fucking pitch.
Exactly. That's what I was getting back to a minute ago about how do you know till you see them.
Yeah, you don't know what will happen. Mark Noble said himself. He said it on a podcast that he done. He said when he got his debut, obviously he'd earned his debut. He said, but I'm on the pitch, I was nervous. But he said he was doing things he never knew he could do because he stepped up. Some players will freeze. Some players will go backwards. Other players will go up a level. And you just don't know. You can't write them off.
No, and that's what I'm saying to you. Just because they're performing in the under-18s, under-23s, don't mean they're going to perform in the first team proper, and vice versa.
No.
So what are the decisions being made upon? What is the yardstick at an under-18, under-23 team to say he won't make it? See you later. If you're giving them no opportunity at all in the first team, what are you judging it by?
And surely,
I'm not an expert, am I?
But surely we are the level of team. Yeah, fair enough. We've done the 6th, 7th thing, last season. That ain't going to happen again for a while. But where we sit, if we're not in a relegation battle, we should be around the middle. We should be the type of club that should be trying to bring players through. That should kind of be our mark. I can understand it if you're pushing for the title. Or if you're pushing for the title, you're not going to take a risk because you've got the world's best players playing for you. Yeah. But not us. If we've had to watch underperforming players, senior players that like consistently underperform and never get fucking dropped. Are you telling me we couldn't have taken one chance, a little bit of youthful enthusiasm? Because the one thing that a kid does give you, John, is that they're fearless, aren't they? They're fearless. They come in, and I don't understand it. And I know I've heard other arguments. They say, "Oh, Moyes is protecting them. You can only bring players in when you're sort of 2-0, 3-0 up." Well, for a start, Moyes ain't ever going to be 2-0, 3-0 up, is he? Very rarely, once in a fucking blue moon. So that don't work. It's wrong. But anyway, go on.
I just think. Sorry, John. I'll back to you in a minute. But I think Moyes genuinely has a problem where he thinks that the young players of today are not as respectful of the young players of yesterday, and he thinks they've got it too easy, and he tries to make it as hard as possible. He tries to make them, I don't know, maybe in his mind, appreciate their journey or something like that. But it's a short career, isn't it? If you look at Danny Ings, he's 30. By the time he's 31, people are going to start looking at Danny Ings and saying, "Oh, he's on the way out." Right, 31, 32, he's on the way out. Antonio, 33, they're now saying he's finished. 35, it's all over, isn't it? So what happened to people being in the first team at 19, 20? Why is this under 23 concept even exist?
I think it's ludicrous. I think it's absolutely ludicrous because you're jumping from under 18s and then you're jumping technically 4 age groups up to under 23s.
Yeah.
So you got people of 18, 19, 20. If they're not good enough for the first team, what is the under 23s about?
Exactly.
What is it realistically?
Exactly.
I don't mean just West Ham United. I mean as a whole,
as a concept. Yeah.
If they're not good enough at 18, 19, then get rid of them and let them go and play and rebuild their career at lower league. What is the point of? And look, West Ham ain't the only team guilty of this, because a lot of clubs now, they don't give youth a chance. So we're not the only club, right? But the problem with it is for us is that we are self-proclaimed the academy, and we do, as most fans do, but we love it when a youngster comes through. And Tony Cottee scored Tottenham debut. Freddie Sears when he came on. All right, he didn't make it at West Ham, but we love them moments, and it might be a little bit romantic, and it might be a little bit,
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it being romantic. That's part of the fun. That's
It is, and I just think to myself, look, think about it. We brought in Downs for 12 million quid for him to sit on the bench and not play, when we already had, let's say, Cullen, who could have been kept and sat on the bench and cost you nothing apart from the money you invest in training in him. That's what bothers me. Is you get rid of one.
Someone said something here. Yeah, someone said something here. Now, I know this could never happen, but if you had a rule where you had to have at least 2 homegrown players in your starting 11, that would throw the cat amongst the pigeons. I know it would never happen because there's too much money in the Premier League, and there's too much. But I think that's the only way you're going to do it, because you're just getting. We've proved it ourselves. You said earlier on, Gary, Kehrer. We brought Kehrer in, and this isn't having a go at Kehrer. I still think that Kehrer could be a good player, but we could have. Cullen's gone out right now. Time will tell whether Downs is a better player than Cullen. We don't know, but you don't know. But so we've let Cullen go. We've brought Downs in for 12 million. There ain't going to be that much in it. And then I think Mandy alluded to it earlier on, and this is what makes it disgusting. What I was saying, Cullen's almost 27. His career's only just started.
Yeah, exactly.
When you lock them into a fucking system like that, you're robbing them of years. It ain't fair.
That's right. And you look at Downs. It's funny you should mention Downs, because Downs, there's clearly a problem there. I don't think he was a Moyes signing, Flynn Downs. I think that's common knowledge, just like Ben Rama. And he, Moyes seems to be doing everything to keep him out of the team. Now, what has Flynn Downs done wrong? Because every time he's made an appearance, he's been fantastic.
He's looked good.
He's put him in all sorts of positions. He's made him play as a number 10, hasn't he? Right? He's put him all over the place. He's played on the right. He's played central midfield, right?
Honestly.
He's played everywhere apart from his actual position, which is a central defensive holding midfielder. He played there in the cup a couple of times, the cup games, but he's never been anywhere near that in the Premier League, has he?
He's never cracked it. He's never cracked it.
But this is a great point from Michael Levy, right? So we took him from Ipswich. He's a West Ham fan.
Yes, 100%. We're going to ruin him.
I agree with this.
We've brought him in, and initially I said, right, he'll need a bit of time to bed in. I did use that phrase, but I thought my training would have. No, but initially, first couple of months, I meant, not the whole fucking season. But this is the point. Downs now, technically, is he going to be developing? Probably not. He's getting no game time at all. And there is nothing better than game time. You cannot replicate game time. You can do all the training you want, match fitness and match savviness and everything else. You cannot replicate that on the training plan.
I don't think it is a massive jump up either. I don't think it's that much of a risk anymore.
No, it isn't.
No, but what I mean is buying from the Championship now, I think you've got more chance of a player coming from the Championship and doing well than going to a fucking foreign club, because it's high intensity, it's powerful. There might not be as much technical ability down there, but if a player's shining down there, there'll probably a good chance he'll shine in the Premier League as well.
And when you think about it, what Downs did, he let West Ham come in and steal him away from Crystal Palace. He would have been playing for Crystal Palace by now. He should have gone now. He should have gone there. And I think it's terrible what we're doing to him. When you think about it, he's left the club. I know it's a lower level at Swansea, right? But he was the captain, wasn't he? Yeah. He was playing every single game. He was the player of the year. They adored him at Swansea, right? And now he's gone from that to sitting on our bench everywhere. It must be heartbreaking for the guy.
Oh no, it's horrible. But we were saying that people talk. We were talking about coaching earlier on. And you spoke about Kehrer, Gary, how bad he is now, like Kehrer. And this is because I think he's been Johnsoned since he's come in. Johnson was Moised and Kehrer's been Johnsoned. It's the same thing. So basically he's come in, he hasn't played particularly well. He's been shifted from position to position to position. His confidence has gone. This is a player that had like a 90-plus pass success rate. He's a good kind of progressive defender. He's forgotten how to fucking pass. It's like he's had football coached out of him since he's been here. Yeah. It's how it feels. I don't know what goes on that training pitch. I've got no idea. But it is important. It is important. That's why some players do play a progressive game. We don't. You can only imagine that we get coached in that way that we play. So we're not going to develop players in that system. That's not a system that develops players.
Well, I assume that Kehrer is now getting the same treatment that all those players like Krau and Vlasic and all those players got, where Moyes didn't even talk to them, right?
No,
they're not part of his first team. He's not part of the first team plan, so Moyes don't even talk to him every day. That's probably the same treatment that Downs is getting as well.
Yeah, no. Right, well, look, we've done the youth academy. I think everyone's talking about Noble automatically in the chat, so I think we'll move on to that. John, you've kind of been following this. Do you want to have a little waffle about Noble? What you think this is all about?
Waffle. I mean, I think at the minute what's happening at West Ham, and I get it. A lot of the fan base are concentrating on things that, in my mind, are pulling us away from the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is that, let's be honest, we've been sidetracked a little bit, but the clowns are still running the circus, right? And that's it. That's the be all and end all. And people have become fixated with Noble and what his role is at the club, and the smirking at his course, in the US, the 1 month course. I find it funny, by the way. I'm not bemoaning people, but I just sort of think that, what is his role? What is Noble's role at the club? I mean, he's been back at the club since the 1st of January, I believe, turn of the year. He was brought back quicker than he planned, quicker than they probably wanted to bring him back, because things were going bad. Things were turning sour. And I think the fans, after his retirement and since then, have sort of been realising that we've been missing the DNA of the club. And to me, Mark Noble is the DNA of West Ham United. People can laugh, people can scoff, people can question his, professionalism, question his capabilities of doing the job. But let's be honest, none of us really know what the job entails. He's not director. He's not director of football. We was talking about it the other day, Nick. He's not director of football, right? They've created a title almost specifically for Mark Noble. I don't believe it's a role that is of massive significance within the club in terms of their mindset. But I actually think it's very important for someone like Noble to be in and around the club.
Yeah.
First and foremost, he's a fan like us, and he spent his whole career there. And people will say, well, that's because he was good enough to go anywhere else. Yeah. Which, again, Gary's alluded to before. I won't bring it up again.
Yeah. Look,
I'm only joking.
I think that's right. We'll never know. If he'd have got a chance to go to one of the big clubs, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. However, he was. Sorry, go on.
Well, let me just say this. I just find it embarrassing that West Ham fans are laughing and scoffing at a man who, no matter what his role is, will only be there doing good. And when the whole rumour mill started about him resigning, now I don't actually believe that to be true, right? I think that's a rumour or a Chinese whisper that's got out of control. He may have had a bit of an argument. He may have questioned something. But I don't think he would resign. The bloke loves the club. He ain't going to come back within a month when we're in serious trouble. Listen, he ain't going to mug himself off by resigning after a month. He knows how bad that will look.
No, but what I will say is the only way he would do that, I think your character profile with Noble is bang on, which is why, if he has threatened to resign, if that did happen, then it must have been for a fucking good reason.
Exactly.
And it could, but what I mean is that there could be a good reason for it. We heard Sean. Sean he won't phone in today. Everyone, I've seen a few people in the chat say that he's away in the Cotswolds, so he won't be on tonight. But Sean mentioned on the show last week that they do like a sacrificial lamb at West Ham. Now, I'm not being funny. We all heard Noble coming in. You can guarantee he was prepped. He was doing all of the pro Moyes. Backing him in the lead up to his job coming over. Now, what I'm saying is, if he's come in, it could be that he's identified something like that. So he's been given a sporting director role. He's realised he's got no fucking say in anything. They probably signed Danny Ings without consulting him. They probably let Pierre Ekwa go without consulting him. There's probably all these other bits and pieces going on. You've got David Moyes, who's clearly had his nose put out of joint by this because he referred to him as a fucking apprentice in the press conference. That is underhand. I don't care what anyone says. Talking about him like that, that's talking him down. His title is director, and he's calling him a fucking apprentice. That's wrong. It could very well be that he's coming and going, what am I doing here? What's my job? I mean, somebody said on Twitter, I'm not saying they're wrong, it's probably right, that he's the link in between the academy and David Moyes. What does that mean? That he takes a phone call from Kenny Brown and phones David Moyes? Well, is he a switchboard? Is he a receptionist? What the fuck does that mean?
Well, that's a pointless role, isn't it? That's a pointless role. If you know, they can't possibly. I mean, if that was the role that he ended up with, then I completely understand. If he did threaten to resign, he didn't resign. There's a difference between threatening to resign and resigning. He didn't resign, right? Yeah. So if he threatened to resign because he was upset with the role as it's turned out, then that's fine. I understand that. I don't think we should be taking the piss out of him because what's that?
I mean, I'm not even.
Yeah,
they had a big row. They're gone.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I don't think we should be taking the piss out of even though we have taken.
I think you can take the piss out of the situation.
You can have a laugh about it. Yeah,
I think you can take the piss out of the situation. I have heard on a few other channels where they've gone in a little bit too hard. They started taking the piss out of his education before he came to West Ham and stuff like that. That's going a little bit too far. That's getting personal.
He's a footballer. He's a footballer.
That's getting a little bit personal, isn't it?
Can I just bring this up? Because look, I like Will. Will got me David Moyes pajamas and all that, right?
Yeah.
But Will, listen, mate, I ain't having a go at you, but your comments are here to pull up, right? We all know Noble is just a mouthpiece. He should fuck off. I mean, I can't understand. It's almost like we're happy turning on our own. Now, whether you like it or not, Nick's sitting there smirking because he probably half agrees.
No, I'm just thinking of Will Dole saying Zinedine Zidane last week. It's just making me laugh to myself. Go on.
I agree, but John, that.
But look at this. If he didn't play for us for so long, would he be known? No, he wouldn't have. But that's the point. He played his whole career at the club. Whether he was good enough to go elsewhere or not, he's came back in good faith, and people are just absolutely slandering.
Listen. I think you're right. I think there is an argument. You've said yourself, okay. Look, looking at it as a devil's advocate, we've got no loyalty to anyone. You said yourself that David Sullivan, you don't think he's a type of man that would employ anyone that challenged him. Right now, that means that, we know that Moyes, they like Moyes because Moyes is a company man. You know, he's I
think this now. I think so Skatesy. I think Noble thought he was a sporting director. Well, it was his title, right? Above the manager and reporting to the MD. I mean, that would be a director of football, right? But a sporting director, director of football. That is basically the way the club publicised it. That's what I thought he was as well. But it seems he's more there as in an ambassadorial role, with no actual power. In which case, if I was Noble, I would be pissed off too.
But what does this even mean? He went to a school in Custom House. He ain't qualified to be a director. We went to a shitty school in East London.
Yeah, so did I.
He's being facetious. Did you not see him the other day when he said he's only got a qualification in art and PE? Nigel, I've got no qualifications. Look where I am. I'm top of the tree at Claret and Booze. It can get you far. You ain't got to be clever, mate. You can get
top of the smallest tree, John.
You know, Trevor Brooking was very, academically in terms of footballers. Trevor Brooking was quite clever. I didn't mean
to put that comment out. I didn't mean to do that.
He got so many O levels and stuff like that. Trevor Brooking. But
please don't get personal in the chat. Try and
listen. Most footballers.
Be nice.
Most footballers are not academically strong, right? And
they put a lull at the end of it. Yeah.
So I don't think we can have a go at him for not being too academic. It's one of these things. It's a change of career. His priority is to prioritise football all of his life.
He's an expert. He's an expert in terms of football. You could say he's an expert in terms of West Ham. He's come through that academy, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I will say, if he'd been appointed director of football, I'd be nervous because he is not qualified. I'll tell you what it is, because director of football, it's all about experience. So it isn't about being bright enough. It's about going in and you can't go right in at the top, which we are the top. We're a Premier League club, and be a director of football dealing with millions and millions and millions.
And that's why I thought they gave him a sporting director role. It was a kind of watered down director of football role to kind of ease the pressure on him a little bit. Yeah.
But would you technically, is there anyone more qualified at this present time that we would have brought in? No. He knows the club inside out. He is the club inside out. He bleeds
Yeah.
the club. He will only do what he thinks is best for the club. And you can think he's a yes man and all that. Well, sporting director, we spoke
to address that, sporting director, they've been very carefully not to call him a director of football, which in the British game is what a director of football is called. You're called a director of football. Yeah. He's called a sporting director. Fuck knows what that is. That doesn't exist in the UK apart from in this club.
But like Gary said, it's a watered down version. They've literally created it, not calling him director of football.
I think it was designed to keep the heat off of him so that he could learn the role. Because you know, where do you get experience from? You get experience from doing the job, right? And so he might be fit to be a director of football in a couple of years' time or something like that, right?
Well, hang on. Hang on, I'm on the move. Virgil is the GOAT, let's be honest. Hammers Chat are after
They
him.
are. I've been trying to bat him away. I've been trying to bat him away.
Who's Hammers Chat? Who's that lot?
Oh yeah, look at him. Look.
No, who's Hammers Chat?
You know that other little the other little West Ham channel.
Oh, the Scottish geezer. I can't understand the word of Scottish geezer. I can't speak of anyone foreign. No foreigners here. Only joking.
He's lying. He knows who they are.
Yeah. Of course I am. I think.
He's got a picture of Gio on his wall.
He has.
But you know, but that's the thing, right? I just feel that we've had Moyes took the heat off the directors or the board for a couple of years with Europe and league finishes, and now we're fixating with Noble, and now we're fixating with Rice. Like people saying, sell Rice. He's a CUNT. Take the armband.
I know.
We should sell him in January.
No one's calling him that, though, are they?
Yeah. No, they are. They do on Twitter and things like that. People get terribly carried away with the.
Look, I'm annoyed with him, but it doesn't mean I don't still love him as a player and love what he's done for us, and I still love him to stay with us and see his career out.
You can hypothesize. You can look at evidence and you can hypothesize. You can come up with something that you think is the situation, is the case, right? Don't mean you're right. Yeah. And when you just take your assumption and then you build upon that a load of bad language, that's what happens on Twitter.
What's he talking about, Doyle? Di Canio Pyatt? And even which Pyatt is he talking about? Gus Pyatt or Gus Pyatt's son? Oh, he means Dimitri Pyatt. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't get that. Look, listen, I don't get that. I don't think there's any hatred for Noble. I don't think there is. I don't think there's any hatred for him. But the only thing is, look, listen, if he does, it wouldn't take much. You know what the West Ham fans are like for a start. So it wouldn't take much. He will have to be careful in that role. And that could be why. I think he knows that. He knows what the fan base is like. Maybe he's seen something in that role and gone, fucking hell.
Nick, the geezer lives in and around Hornchurch, right? He's surrounded by West Ham fans. He knows. Yeah. He knows, yeah. He ain't an idiot, is he? He knows the club inside out. He knows the fan base inside out. But I just feel that people are almost turning on him. Now, whether you think he's a yes man or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, he ain't going to come into a job on his first day and start slagging people off.
No. When just after Mark Noble broke into the first team, I went to because we used to, over in the Bobby Moore stand, we used to sit next to Bill Gardner, and Bill Gardner did his book signing, right? And we went to his book signing down in a working man's club in Barking Road, right? And Mark Noble was there in amongst the West Ham fans, and he'd just broken into the first team. Chatting to everybody. He was only a young kid. He was like 17.
True Cockney, we were taking the piss. We know Hammers Chat are bigger than us. That's all that was. It was tongue in cheek.
Well, they can't be that. They can't be that big. They can't be that big. They can't be that big. Currently, I'm getting £5 a year over 5 years.
You got to understand sarcasm.
Yes, it was tongue in cheek, mate. That's all.
Yeah. You've got.
They're a good channel, and we watch.
And we
watch Hammers Chat.
They're probably the only other channel I really watch.
I do watch.
I don't watch anyone.
Yeah.
I watch Hammers Chat and I watch some of West Ham fan TV, I must admit.
Oh, Bailey's saying apparently we're slagging Noble off now. You are an incredibly sensitive person. You are perpetually offended. Bailey is, isn't he? Is your name Karen?
Is he looking for something to be offended by? Does he come on here looking for something to be offended by?
He does, yeah. He's in a perpetual state of outrage.
Virgil thinks Nigel talks sense. Not all the time. I do agree with a lot Nigel says, but I don't just agree with him for the degree of his sake. Right? We differ on our opinions of Noble. Although Nigel I see Nigel tweeted you earlier, Nick, and he actually mentioned Noble as a success of the academy alongside Rice. So maybe he is.
Well, he is. He is a success of the academy, isn't he? He is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but a lot of
I
people.
say there is one thing that I've said. There is one thing that I've said. Okay, and this is looking at how what's tangled webs can be weaved with certain things. So if you look at the academy setup at the moment, there's a lot of ex-pros in there, ex-West Ham players. You've got one of our own in Steve Potts, a one-club man who's been earning his stripes in that academy for ages. It's run by Kenny Brown. So even if Mark Noble was to have come in and been given a role to oversee them and kind of tell them how to run things, that I can't imagine. Depends on the people, but I can't imagine that would probably wouldn't go down well. I wouldn't have thought, because he's leapfrogging them.
What is Kenny Brown's role?
He runs the academy. He's kind of the main man, and then you've got the.
Is he? I mean, he managed.
I think so. I think so. That's what I read.
Potsy came from another era, and Potsy was a great player for us and a good captain, wasn't he? And he.
I'm going to go and get a drink. I'll come back up and then we'll do the phone calls.
All of his career.
Wasn't a one club man though.
No, he was a one club man because, as Nick rightly said the other day, Dagenham and Redbridge were semi-professional back then. They were not a professional club.
Were they another club?
A semi-professional club.
Answer my question.
Yeah, but you could say that about Trevor Brooking, who went to play Mickey Mouse football in Ireland, didn't he? Do you remember when he was? No, it wasn't Ireland, was it? It was out in Essex somewhere. He played. I think he also played in Ireland. Yeah.
If you go on loan, that's different because you're still owned by your club. If you go and sign and play for another club, you're not a one-man club. And I love Steve Potts.
See, you're just trying to put Noble edging ahead of Stevie Potts, aren't you? Whereas I can't have that. But what you got to understand about Potts, which probably takes the wind out of Nick's idea that Potts would be upset with Noble's progression, is that I think Potsy went off and he did what all players did not so long ago. Didn't make enough money out of football to be able to rest for the rest of his life. He went and became a postman, I think, didn't he? Stevie Potts, a black taxi driver. Was it a black cab driver?
Steve Potts is a taxi driver. Alan Dickens, I think, became a postie, if I'm right.
Yeah.
But Steve Potts is a black cab driver. Yeah,
right. There you go.
Yeah, he studied the knowledge the same place as I did.
Noble played for Ipswich apparently and Hull, according to.
Only on loan. That's different.
So you're setting the rules at loan.
Well, because he hasn't signed for them permanently, Gary. Let's not go down that road.
Yeah, I don't know. Nigel will know the answer to this, though. Way back when, Stevie Potts, that was when Dagenham and Redbridge was semi-professional, right?
They were non-league. Yeah, they were non-league. Yeah.
They were non-league.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Let's go through some of the comments quickly. Pam Woodward says, bin off Moyes, give Noble a job because we need someone who knows what it means to play Millwall. Nick, he's been brought in to pacify the fans. That is all. Now, whilst I can see where you're coming with that,
I believe that could have been why they've done it. It's like a PR fucking stunt.
No. But the only thing I'd say about that is this arrangement was set up pretty much before the season started. I think they called him back sooner than they planned because I was led to believe he wanted to take a year off. You know what I mean, and come back next season. I think they maybe brought him back sooner than planned. But I think he was always on the cards. So Noble loves the ball and Moyes more than he cares what the fans think. I don't think so. I don't think so.
That ain't the 17-year-old Noble I saw amongst the West Ham fans down Barking Road amongst the sticky wallpaper and carpet that day in 2000 and whenever it was.
What's this? Nigel will find it funny, so I'll put it up. Nigel licked up Moyes' wet Scottish fart and kept it up, Dave. I love the taste of iron brew. Your West Ham. Nigel won't mind me putting that up. He can take it. Oh, dear. Yeah.
Right, I'm going to give. Listen, I've got one call. I'm going to phone up first, and then I'll open the phone lines. Go on.
We're going to talk about Derby briefly tomorrow. Yeah. So
go on.
FA Cup tomorrow. I'm driving up there tomorrow afternoon. Driving back tomorrow night. It's going to. Again, I've read some stuff about how Derby play. I've looked into it a little bit. I mean, they are. They're basically a high press attacking team. They're going to, with pace, with width, they're going to come at us tomorrow, especially at home. They're going to come at us. So I do worry for our longevity in the FA Cup tomorrow night. But nonetheless, I'm going there tomorrow, which I think will be quite miserable. And then I'm going to Newcastle on Saturday.
The thing I said earlier, there hasn't been a shock yet in this weekend's FA Cup. I thought it was going to happen tonight because Wrexham were leading Sheffield United 3-2 and Sheffield United scored a 97th minute equaliser. So there is still no shock. And I actually think the Derby West Ham game. If you can call it a shock, I don't know. But
would you call it? That's what I'm saying to you. Would you call it a shock?
It is, because they're League One and we're Premier League. So
I know.
it is a shock.
Yeah, but I don't think we'll be playing full strength though.
I'm always going to predict a West Ham win. When we went to Brentford the other week, we played almost a full strength side, so I'm expecting us to do a similar thing. Apparently, Derby are not going to play a full strength side because they're looking at trying to get into the playoff places, right? And that's their priority this season, understandably. Yeah. So, but apparently, that is what we're going to face tomorrow. We're going to face an aggressive, pacey, high press team, just the type we don't like playing against. And I think probably tomorrow we'll see the return of Souček, and he hates a high press, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. I love the FA Cup. It's difficult because of the way this season's gone. I can't really focus on anything else other than the league at the moment. I really can't. All I'm going to be doing tomorrow is, if we've got any senior players playing, is thinking, please don't get injured. Please don't get injured.
This is where I'm going to agree with Nigel. After several weeks of mulling it over, right? I'm just going to announce now that if we can listen, I've come to terms with relegation now. I've come to terms with it. I'm actually looking forward to the year in the Championship and whatever. So I think we should be going for every single.
What if it's not a year? What if it's not a year?
I don't care. I think we should be going for every single available cup, right? Every single available cup, and that includes FA Cup and the Conference League.
Yeah,
I think we're going to go down anyway. So whatever.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Right, let me just make this call. I think we'll win. I do think we'll win. I think it'll be a close game. I've got no idea what he's going to do in terms of team selection. I've got to be honest. I don't know. I'd like to think he's going to play a couple of the youngsters. I'd like to see Mabama given a game, but he only played last night, didn't he?
I think he'd be on the bench.
Yeah, he scored a couple last night, didn't he?
So I'd like to think he'd get some game time.
Who are you ringing now then? Who are you ringing?
Gatesy.
On,
yeah. Hang on. Can you hear him?
No, yeah, speaking yet.
Can you hear it ringing, dickhead?
Good evening.
Hello, is that Robert Gates?
Oh,
it may well be.
Fantastic. This is Nick from Claret and Booze.
Jolly good.
How are you, mate? You all right?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Living the dream, I think, is the phrase I'll use.
Good. Joining me, I've got Gary and John in the background.
How you doing, Casey? You all right?
How you doing, boys?
Yeah.
Hello, mate.
Not bad.
Good to hear you were a neighbour in the old Bobby Moore Lower.
Yes. I was there for many years. It was good fun. It got a little bit lively at times.
It did. I was there for all of the years. We had the season ticket from when that opened to when it shut. Same ones.
Yeah.
Only they moved us across one block once when they added that bit on the end. Do you remember?
Yes. I remember I think I got moved back as well from memory, because I've got a vague recollection that when I very first got the ticket, I was like 2 rows from the front, and then they took out a couple of the front row of the Bobby Moore Lower. So I got shunted sort of a couple of rows back. So that was good fun. Off of the back of that, completely apropos of nothing, off of the back of that, my best mate and I, who went at the time, we turned up at Upton Park because they sort of said, come and have a look at the new seats. We'll show you around. So we went to the ticket office, and this steward come out, and we went and we saw the seats that they were offering us, and they said, oh, what do you think? I said, yeah, no problem. And as we was walking back, this steward turned around and went, I'll tell you what, as a little sort of extra, do you want to come and see the changing rooms? And we're like, fucking yeah. So we ended up going in the home changing room. We saw this. Nice. Yeah, it was fucking brilliant. Nice little bonus.
Was that before? Was that when the old West Ham was still there?
The old? No, it was.
It was a Dr. Martin.
It was after the. Yeah. So it would have been about 2001, 2002, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
From memory, because we went in to the home changing room, and they had like this. What was it? It was like a sauna sort of thing, steam room sauna, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We went in, and it was full of crap. It was sort of full of cones and bibs and fucking. I'm sitting there going, well, that ain't getting fucking used, is it? So whatever. And about 10 years later, I went back. I had the opportunity of playing in like a charity five-a-side tournament on the pitch at Upton
brilliant.
Park.
Oh, wow.
And so I went back in the changing rooms, and it was like this sauna was still there, full of all crap and whatever. And I turned around to someone and I said, has that never been used? They said, no, we installed it. It never got fucking used. Never got switched on once, by all accounts.
Brilliant.
Well, for fuck's sake.
Bloody hell.
But there you go. Typical West Ham, innit?
Typical West Ham. But have you been watching the show tonight, Casey?
Yes, mate.
You have, right?
Yeah.
Well, based on some of the points that we've made tonight, have you got anything that you'd like to anything that you'd like to say? Any points you'd like to add?
Well, where I joined was when the chat was centred around the academy, which I am a very keen advocate of. But I think that we've got this tag at the moment, the Academy of Football. It's there on the carpet. It's there online literature. It's everywhere you look, the Academy of Football, proud history and all that. And it's like, let's be completely honest, we've not had a proud history of producing players for quite some considerable time.
Yeah.
Especially now with Moyes. And I just am very much of the opinion. I think one factor that hasn't helped, sort of back in the day, there was a story, I'm sure it was Harry Redknapp, he turned around and said it would be very regular that if there was a player that dropped out of the first team training, that they'd quite easily sort of turn around to one of the 18s or the 21s or whatever and say, oh, send over such and such, and they can join in with training and this, that and the other. Well, obviously, the 18s train at Chadwell Heath. Do the under-21s train at Chadwell Heath as well, or are they at Rush Green?
John will know.
No, I think they are at Chadwell Heath. I think because we've got Little Heath. We've got Little Heath as well, which is where the that's where the young ones train, isn't it? So I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. That would have made like for instance when Redknapp was manager or something like that, you'd have had them on pitches next to each other. And it's all very different now. It's all very different. So it is.
Yeah. So that doesn't happen.
I don't quite get that. I don't see why that isn't the case. I think they should be in the same complex, really.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that helps. I really don't.
No.
And I also, there was someone that put something in the chat a little bit earlier about having two players on the bench from the youth grade teams. I mean, I would say one, at least one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be completely honest. You've got 9 places on the bench. You've got 5 substitutes you can bring on. Let's be honest. This manager, you'd be arsehole lucky in a Premier League game if he actually makes 4.
Yeah.
Let's be totally real. Most of the time it's free, and it's like, what would be the harm of putting one of the youth team players on the bench, and even if they never set foot on the pitch and played, just going to the game, going on the coach with the players, going into the sort of the tunnel.
Well, we should have got we should have gone for Bielsa, and I'll tell you why. Right, I'll tell you why. Did you hear what he's offered to do for Everton? He's turned down the job with the first team, but he's offered to coach the under-23s for no fee for a year.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Well,
that's crazy, isn't it?
What a guy.
Gylfi Sigurdsson offers us the same services to us.
Yeah, but I mean, that is, but so the guy has got
someone else.
The guy has got such an attraction, such a love for coaching young kids. We need someone like. I'm sure our coaches
if Bielsa came in, there'd be kids being brought through for no other reason other than the fact that to play Bielsa ball, you need energy. You do need that. So we would be seeing some kids brought through. I would love that. I really would, and I'd be all for it because Bielsa could stay with us if we were to get relegated. And do you know what? We'd absolutely batter the fucking Championship with him in charge.
Yeah, we would.
We'd be back up.
I think you know what.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'd be more inclined to take Bielsa if and when we did get relegated because I think he prefers a project. I don't think he's the man to come in and save you from relegation. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I just think I think he's better having a project, and Leeds was a project for him, wasn't it?
It was. It was. But I do like that. I do respect that. I mean, he's looked at that Everton job, and he's probably gone for the mandate that you're setting out, which is to prevent relegation. I'm not your man. I'm not your man. Not with my style of football, because he's got a football philosophy. He sticks to his guns. His teams, they will not bend. He won't change the way he plays because he drills that into his players, doesn't he? It's like Leeds. Leeds could have been 2-0, 3-0 down, but they'd carry on playing like it was 0-0. They'd still just be going for it.
Yeah, but
you know.
Yeah, no. The only thing to expand on that, he actually said to them, "You ain't got enough pace in your squad."
Yes.
That was one of his reasons for not taking the job. So he wasn't ever going to come and take our squad, because I don't think our squad's any quicker than whatever they've got anyway. So
no, it's not. I mean, look, this is a common thing. So Hammer 89's gone. Bielsa is 67. Age is a number. It's not the age of the man; it's the age of the football. David Moyes could be 21. His football is fucking prehistoric. Bielsa plays an advanced, beautiful style of football, which is focused around young players, energetic. I don't give a shit how old he is. No. Look, at the end of the day, Hammer 89, the average lifespan of a Premier League manager now is what, 2-3 years? That's probably how long you'd have Bielsa anyway, even if he was younger. But what he could do is implement a new philosophy and a new way of playing at a club. And then when Bielsa moved on, we could bring in another manager of a similar ilk and continue it on. So no, 67, I don't care. Don't care about his age.
He wouldn't be scared, would he? He'd match up with teams on the front foot. You know, whereas this manager, he's scared of his own shadow.
He says on a,
he'll go 1-0 down and he'll defend it.
There's a common comment where he says he can't speak the English. Well, nor can most of our players, and that includes the English ones.
He's got his little bloke who walks around with him everywhere.
He does. He wants to keep in employment. He speaks perfect English. He just don't want it.
The only thing as well with that is, do we actually think that Sullivan would take someone like Bielsa on? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd take someone.
No. Well, I don't think he will.
To him a few times before, hasn't he?
I don't think he will. To him, but that's probably something about where'd you get your hat from, Dave. But I don't think they'd take someone like Bielsa. I think he's too strong for them. He's too vocal.
There was an update today that came out. You on the board mouthpiece, Clarence Hugh. The latest from the board is exactly the same message as the latest from the board before the Everton game.
Boring.
It's all about results. If he loses, if the results don't go well, his job's in danger. It's a free game thing again.
Yeah, if we lose today, they won't care if we lose tomorrow. It will mean nothing. He won't get the sacked off the back of that. The board are probably secretly hoping we do go out so that we can focus on the league. If we're being honest. But I don't think we will. I think we'll get past Derby. But then, like I said to you, if they were going to sack him for losing to Newcastle, Chelsea, and Spurs, it'd have been gone already. Those games, we might get something out of them. Who knows? Who knows?
He's in until Forest, isn't he?
Yeah, at least Newcastle will be a good night out anyway.
Yeah. You're going.
Any of you boys going?
I'm going.
Gary is. Yeah, that will be a good night out.
Oh, I might see you up there.
Ah, brilliant. You staying up there?
Yeah.
Ah, brilliant.
Yes, mate.
Have to meet up, have a beer.
Yeah, I'm travelling up there on early hours of Saturday morning. I'm going with one of my sons and my daughter.
Yeah.
So, I've never been to St James's, so I've been warned about how steep the stand is. And
I've been a few times. I've been a few times, and my record up there is very successful. So it bodes well.
I've been up there a few times.
Yeah, but the view is awful.
Oh, the view's crap. But you can see the Tyne Bridge. You can see the Tyne Bridge from up there, though.
Yeah, it's a great place to go for a piss up. I will say Newcastle is.
They make you walk up all them fucking stairs. About 300.
It's a fucking long way. It's a really long way. Yeah, you're blowing out your ass by the time you get up there.
Yeah. Is it further than London Stadium? Would you think, away from the pitch?
It's a long way up. It's a real long way up. It's like if you're at the back of that upper tier, it is like watching it on telly.
I agree with Nigel on this one for once. The views are better than Stratford. You're closer.
Well, not better than my view. My view's great at Stratford. Nigel might be better than yours.
Because Nigel's got the cheap seats tight.
Yeah.
I'm as far back in London. As London Stadium's concerned, I'm as far back as you can get. There's nothing behind me that's still in the stadium.
Oh, you really?
Oh my God! So it won't be. So it will be nothing out of the ordinary for you. I'm in the Bobby Moore lower over there.
So you're about 100 meters, 150 meters from the edge of the pitch.
You probably think, oh, this is really close.
It feels like 2 miles.
Yeah. No, it's not great, is it? But anyway, Gatesy, we'll have one more point from yourself, mate, before we move on to another caller. Is there anything else you want to chat about before you go?
Mark Noble?
Yeah, go on.
Mark Noble. I do think that I think he was probably offered a role and they've just given it the title of sporting director. That's how it seems to me. And no one's actually sat down and gone, what is a sporting director?
Yeah.
Probably not Mark Noble. Probably Mark Noble knows what a sporting director an awful lot better than David Sullivan does. I think it's pretty safe to say.
But does he?
So Sullivan's come along and gone, well, I don't know. I would like to think so.
Yeah.
But it's like, he was a sporting director. So I've looked up the definition. Sporting director is generally someone that is responsible for transfers in and out. There's also some other things that they might get involved in, and the role will vary from club to club. Some clubs call it a sporting director, some people call it a technical director, some people call it a director of football, whatever. It's largely the same thing. Right. I think that they've just sort of panicked and gone, we've got to keep him at the club in some capacity.
Give him a good title.
Give him this director of football role. Yeah, exactly. Give him a good title. So he's probably been sitting there thinking, right, okay, I'm going to get involved in this and this and this. And he's gone in on his first day and has gone, right, I want to go and I want to sort of like do this with the academy. Yeah, Mark, we don't really want you involved in that, mate. You just sort of go over there and
Kenny Brand's doing all right.
Sort of
yeah,
exactly. And he's probably gone about 3 weeks into the role, and he's like, all I've done is make fucking cups of tea and sweep the floor. What's going on?
I don't think Noble ever thought he was going to be involved in transfers. But what I think Noble will become, to some extent, is almost like he'll sell the club to prospective players. If there's anyone going to get, we've heard the stories how he got all them players over recent years.
But then he's not a sporting director, is he, John?
DNA.
But then he's not a sporting director, is he? He's like he's like
a club ambassador.
He's a club ambassador. That's what he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he is. Yes, that's the word.
Yeah,
I think that's what I probably think he more is, if I'm honest with you.
I know, but the thing is, I mean, because all I see when I hear people say that, he's involved in transfers, I think of that, and then I think of David Sullivan, and I think of Rob Newman, and I think of Moyes, and I think of Noble, and I think that is a fucking bottleneck, isn't it? We're already struggling. We're already struggling to sort of get players in sometimes. You think, how many people do you need involved in that process?
Well, Nigel said it. Nigel said there that Cole's the ambassador. You only allowed one.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can have more than one, can't you?
Yeah, must be able to.
Nigel, what do you want about? Go away, Nigel.
I know. Is he director, ambassador? He's the main one.
Don't take this.
Ambassador director.
You're mocking him now. You're mocking him now.
Ambassador captain.
Ambassador captain. Yeah.
Get Gatesy off. Get him off. Get Gatesy off. Get him off now. Don't slag off Mark Noble on here. Get out of there.
Sorry.
That's all right, mate. That's all right. But look, Gatesy, we are going to move on now, mate. I've got another call.
No worries.
Mate, but thank you very much.
Cheers, Gatesy.
Can I just before I do go, please, guys, put a like on the stream for the boys. Helps the channel out tremendously. Thanks for your support.
Cheers, Gatesy, and also Gatesy, as you can see on the screen, Fortune, if you haven't seen them, go over and check them out as well.
Don't follow that pair of wankers. They're crap.
Cheers, Gatesy. Thanks, mate.
See you later.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Good.
Cheers,
Bye.
mate. Bye. Right. Oh, hang on.
Gary, C&B wrong.
Oh God, he was on the button, wasn't he? Right, where are we? Here he is. Hello, Gary.
Hello,
Gary. How are you?
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Is that Gary from Womford?
It is.
Fantastic. Right, Gary. I shall pass you over to the other Gary quickly because I've just got to quickly do something. I'll be back in a second.
All right, Gary. How's it going?
Mate.
You all right?
Hello, Gary. Hello, John. You okay, mate?
Hello, mate.
Yeah.
You all right? You all right? You good?
Fine. Yes, fine, thank you. I've got a couple of points to make. Before I do, I just want to say the Bielsa thing. If Bielsa was manager, we'd have to put another 40,000 seats in the stadium because all the Leeds fans have come down because he's actually revered up in Leeds, isn't he? and also,
good point.
what he would do, babe, if Bielsa did come in, whether it was this season or if he went down next season, he would do the two things that most West Ham fans are moaning about. A, play attacking football, and B, the youth and the kids, that would really prosper, I think, under him. But my 2 points I wanted to make was the Flynn Downs thing, first of all. I mean, we know Rice is going in the summer. Downs should be given as much game time now as possible because he could come in Declan's shoes and he could save us an absolute fortune.
Well, yeah.
In that role.
To me, Downs is a replacement in waiting. That's exactly what he was, what he should be doing. I mean, the FA Cup game tomorrow, it shouldn't be Rice playing that holding position. It should be Downs.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Downs. It's not like he's come from League 1, 2, or bro. He's been in the Championship. In Swansea, a decent side. So, what I've seen of Downs, I think most West Ham fans, that's what's frustrating them. He is good enough. There's no doubt about it.
The problem with it is someone put it in the chat earlier, and I've said it in the past. We feel that Downs has been brought in to replace Rice when he leaves. But the problem with it is he needs to play alongside him, not in training.
Yes.
He needs to play alongside him in meaningful matches. He's done it on a couple of occasions.
Like tomorrow night.
He's done it on a couple of occasions, but not enough in my mind. And look, we all know Rice is going to go in a few months. And then where does that leave Downs? He hasn't got the experience playing alongside Rice. You remember, Rice had the very same apprenticeship under Noble, but he played God knows how many games alongside him. Do you know what I mean?
You're forgetting, though. You're forgetting that Moyes has managed to create another central defensive midfielder out of a 50 million quid Brazilian, which I think is fantastic. What a transition! What a transition!
Yeah. Also, I was going to ask you, with the Newcastle game coming up the weekend, which I know you're going to, Gal. You and John, a question for both of you. In terms of team selection tomorrow night, would you be playing a full strength, Todd? Because I've been worried about. I'll be leaving 1 or 2 out.
Not full strength.
The League One side derby. I think we can play players. I mean, I wouldn't like to see a Gerd start tomorrow night because I don't think we should risk him for a start. Or maybe, I care. I think there's enough players in that squad to go up there and get a result without playing him players.
No, I'll tell you what. I wouldn't play full strength. I wouldn't play full strength, Gary, but I'd play a strong side. Right, so I'd do things like I just said. I'd swap Downs out for Rice. I'd do things like that. I'd rest Paqueta and probably put surely Souček, irrespective of who we play against, got to be good enough to play in this game. Fort was playing in the number 10 role. Ben Rama definitely has got to start this game.
I mean, I don't want to see us playing like 5 at the back tomorrow against the league. I mean, Derby are a decent side, no doubt about it. Like you said, Gary, they're quick, they'll come at us. But we've got, when you play wing backs with 3 at the back, you're leaving out a midfield player, and I think we've got enough to go up there and get the result, really. But I'm just worried about the Newcastle game. I don't want to pick up injuries tomorrow night. That's what I don't want to do. I mean, end of the day, I'd like to win the FA Cup. I'd like to win the conference, the Europa Conference, but staying in the Premier League is a priority, isn't it?
It'll be 4-4-2 tomorrow, I reckon, with Zuma missing. Surely it'll be, Oggy alongside Aguerd. I mean, I don't know who else he's going to play unless he's going to rest Aguerd as well and put Kerr in. I don't know, but I hope it ain't too weak. I hope he puts in a team that's good enough to, because like it or not, right, Derby are not a League One side. They are, but they're not, right? They're not a League One standard side. And that place will be full up tomorrow. It'll have 30,000 probably. It will be a very hostile atmosphere. These are really the only good nights that Derby are getting at the moment, right? They seem to be doing really well in their push to get promoted. But they played Liverpool the other week and nearly, they only lost on penalties to Liverpool, right? At Anfield.
The funny thing is, Gary, where last season we were struggling for left-sided centre-backs, Zuma injured and Dawson gone. It's now the other way now. You now got Aguerd, Bonner, that are really left-sided defenders. So if you're going to play back 4, I think you play a Bonner on the left and Johnson or Kerr alongside him if you don't want to risk Aguerd tomorrow night. And then you've got Kofau or...
I see your point. I see your point. And if I was tempted to rest any defender, it would be Aguerd.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
One other thing.
I would be resting him.
One other thing. When I watched the game last week against Everton last week, what I'd like to see us try is switch Bowen and Antonio around. Particularly the second goal last week against Everton. Antonio on the wing, terrorise the defender, Bowen in the box, poacher. And I think that could work for us,
Do you reckon he'll risk Antonio with Ings and Scamacca not set to be back for Newcastle?
I don't know. It's a good point. I mean, you've got the young lad. Is it Mbamba? His name?
Mbama, yeah.
I mean, he scored 2 more the other night, didn't he? But he played, of course, Friday, so he's not going to start, is he? So, unless he plays Bowen up front and just doesn't risk Antonio at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bowen, you can. I mean, Bowen's a fit lad, isn't he? I think he can play play every day. It seems that he don't get injured. We've had a few comments in the chat, Gary, asking if you checked out Fake Taxi in the end. Did you?
No, actually, Nick. After I did know what it was initially, I just wasn't thinking straight. And as soon as I put the phone down, I thought, "Oh, good."
What is it? What is
I
it?
expect to see
What
Johnny
is it?
there.
No, they said I'm too well endowed.
Yeah, look, we got this as well because obviously now Okoflex is another. Okoflex is another one, right? That we've pulled back.
Where is he?
What's that?
Where is he?
No, we've pulled him back. We've recalled him from his loan, so I can only imagine that they're gonna use him. I don't know. Otherwise, why would?
Have you heard anything else? Have you heard anything else about the Moffey signing? Because I really like the look at that boy. He's 23. He's powerful. He runs the channel.
He doesn't want to come, Gary. He said no 3 times. Moyes has been seen following him, sort of hunting him around.
We don't have a Lingard situation, do we?
Nick, do you know what that reminds me of, Nick?
Go on.
That was like Nick when we was in Benji's and the girl used to say no, Nick, and she used to follow her around. Do you remember all them girls? You used to chase them around the nightclub, didn't you, Nick, until they gave in? Remember?
That was you, mate, not me. No one ever said no to me. Yeah.
I was going to say to you, with regards to the Premier League games coming the next 4, I know everyone's a bit pessimistic about this, but I think we might pick up a few more points than we realise, you know. I can see us beating Forest at home, and I can see us beating Chelsea at home as well. I don't think they're playing that great.
What? Have you seen that? Have you seen that new player there, Paul? What's his name? Mudryk.
He's ridiculous.
He's going to be going up against Vladimir Sufal.
It's
fucking rapid. I've never seen a player as quick.
Oh, he's really fast. He's really fast.
Eh?
Yeah. It's Ukrainian. Yeah.
My God.
Shits off the shovel. He really is.
Well, honestly, Gary, I love your optimism, mate, and I hope you're right.
Yeah.
It's a London derby. Anything can happen. I can't see anything but free defence.
I
think Gary's part right. I think we're going to beat Nottingham Forest at home.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest, yes. I think we'll beat them, but the others, no.
Because we should have beaten Nottingham Forest away. They was shit.
Newcastle. I'd say the only one I think we could win potentially is the one that's coming up. Newcastle. Maybe we could win
away at Newcastle.
Well, we ain't going to beat Chelsea or Spurs.
Well, I'll tell you what, that'd be a marvellous night out in Newcastle.
We've got more chance of Chelsea and Spurs than Newcastle, Nick.
Yeah.
You
if you look at Newcastle, I think the last 5 games they're not conceded a goal in Premier League and Cup.
Well, no,
they haven't scored many either. They scored an average in 1 a game. So
Gary, that run's got to come to an end, Gary.
Well, yeah, it's true. But I just don't see us losing the next 3. I think we'll get points from somewhere. It's just the way West Ham do it. The home game's more likely though than the away games.
Yeah.
I'm sure I read a stat that Nick Pope's got 11 clean sheets in a row.
Yeah.
Newcastle have the best clean sheet record in Europe, according to Nigel.
Yeah, they are.
Really?
So really,
the
chances are we're not going to score up there.
Not sure Nigel knows.
You sure you want to go, Gal?
Oh yeah, because you never know when these away, we nick a point or something like that. You never know when it's going to happen, do you? You never go away with West Ham expecting a win in your heart, do you? You think on the off chance we might nick a win or we might nick a point.
Shit house.
Also, Newcastle have got a game on Tuesday night, and they've got the second leg at home to Southampton.
Oh, have they?
It's only 1-0, I think. So whether that has any bearing anything, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
I mean, they're desperate. They're desperate to win a trophy, aren't they? So they're going to take every game seriously. And the fact it's only 1-0, the tie ain't over, is it? So I don't think they're going to be resting many.
I'll tell you what. Shall we do something? Very quickly, people. I think what we'll do, because Gary, you did suggest something to me, which is predicting some results. Yes. So I don't mind us doing that. What I can do is I can set up the Premier League predictor.
Let's do that,
We'll do the next 3 games before Nottingham Forest, and we'll try and be very logical. Even Spurs, if we think Spurs will win, we'll let them have a win. We'll try and do it as best we can. But yeah, like I say, I think we should base it personally on the worst case scenario, on West Ham not getting anything out of those games, to see how bad it could potentially be in 3 games' time.
Yeah, Nick Gatesy, who came on just now, he did a show about a week ago, and he actually went right through the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And they all come up with a points total. I mean, what you've got to look at is all 3 of you.
Yeah.
What do you think What do you think points total we're going to need to be safe? What would you say it's going to be?
36 max, I reckon. 36,
Because
possibly 36.
I think with Dyche going in at Everton, it's made it more difficult now.
It has.
You know, before Dyche came in, I think Southampton and Bournemouth are going to go down, and I thought Everton would go, but now I don't think Everton will go down.
Do you know what my prediction is? My prediction is that Southampton, Wolves, Everton, and Leicester are going to get out of that bottom three in the next 6 to 7 games, and I think you're going to be left with Leeds, Bournemouth, West Ham, and Nottingham Forest in the bottom 4. That's personally what I think. Maybe I can just, because they've not been playing bad. I mean, they was really unlucky against Aston Villa. I do think I do think they're going to click. I think they will. I can't help it. I think they will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be wrong.
That's another manager. That's another manager crossed off the list we can't get now. Dyche, you know.
I'm not too displeased, because the thing is, you know what? I don't think we need much of the same. I want to see something different now, and it would be. I know he plays a slightly different style. I wouldn't have been displeased if he'd have come in. I wouldn't have been excited either. Would you have been excited if Dyche should have come in anyway?
No, it's not. I don't.
Well,
we're judging him on a very pigeonholed point of view.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what he does with Everton.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's very difficult going in at Everton. They're a club in turmoil, so I wouldn't ever write him off. He could have done a job at West Ham, but for me, going forward, and we're not going to get it until it change ownership. We need a whole new direction. We need a whole new, fresh ideology that works from top to bottom, where the owners of the club tell the manager, "This is what we want. This is what we expect. We want youth players, whatever your ideology is," and that's what Brighton are doing.
It's not going to happen while Sullivan's in charge, though, is it?
No, but exactly.
John, was that you earlier?
What?
Sorry, John. Go on. Was that you earlier? I mentioned about you were talking about Bielsa, and you were saying about you can look at this 2 ways. Either if we go down, do we then get for Bielsa from the Championship and build from scratch, or because I think you're right, whether he'd be good enough just to come in now and keep us up, I don't know. But I'd like to know how many West Ham fans out there would like to see Bielsa in charge.
I really would.
A totally different direction.
I really would.
Nick would, but I don't think he's the right man for now. And I think the reason I say that is because he took on Leeds as a project. I think he likes the whole project, starting from scratch almost, ripping up what's gone before and doing it all his way. But again,
I think the only thing is, John. No, sorry to interject. Because of Sullivan and the way that he operates, the only way we would get a manager like Bielsa,
he's got to be gone.
No. What I mean is, if we were to get relegated, the only way we would then appoint a manager like Bielsa would be if we had him before we got relegated, because you know what Sullivan will do. He'll go and get the shithouse manager to shithouse our way through the Championship. He's done it before. He's done it with Sam Allardyce. I think he just thinks that that's a functional way to play. But I think you've seen now with the teams that have been promoted from the Championship recently, they're being promoted through playing football. You don't have to play that way anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Bielsa also, it's like you've got to have players that can play your system. People like Creswell and Bonner obviously wouldn't. But you've got people like Bowen, Rice, Downs, Thornells, Ben Rama, that can run, and Johnson, Kira, they can get around the pitch. So you wouldn't need to change that many players. No. I think it'd be exciting to Bielsa. I mean, Leeds, if you speak to any Leeds fans, I absolutely love him up there. He's
I would love it, mate. But anyway, Gary, what we're going to do, mate, let's zip through these 3 weeks. So I'm going to start with John at the top. John, just call these results logically how you think they're going to go. Chelsea versus Fulham.
Chelsea versus Fulham. I'm going to say 1-1.
Okay. Oh. Okay, Gary. Everton versus Arsenal.
0-3.
Everton, Arsenal,
0-3. No manager bounce for Dyche.
No, not against Arsenal. No chance.
You've got to call Gary on the phone, Watford, because otherwise he's going to think you're calling Gary.
I will. I'll tell you what. You can go after Gary. Gary from Watford. Right. Aston Villa versus Leicester.
Oh, he's just dodgy one. 2-1 Villa.
2. That'd be a good game. That. Well, I mean, Leicester, they need to start winning as well, don't they? Brighton versus Bournemouth. I'm going to go 1-1 on that one. I think Brighton are doing. I'm going to go 1-1 on that one. I think Brighton are doing. They're doing very well against the better teams, but
Remember a few weeks ago when people were saying get Gary O'Neill in because he had a few wins for Paul.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He won't be there much longer if he carries on. Right, John, back to you. Brentford versus Southampton.
Brentford versus Southampton, 2-0 Brentford.
Gary, Man U versus Palace.
2-0 Man U.
Watford, Wolves versus Liverpool.
1-0 Wolves.
Oh, yeah. What is happening with Liverpool at the moment? Honestly,
Well, that was a possible result, wasn't it?
right. I'm not gonna be too harsh. I'm just gonna go 1-0 Newcastle. We think it's going to be a defeat.
That's a good call.
Right, John, Nottingham Forest, Leeds.
2-1 Forest.
Gary, Spurs, Man City.
You know what was
1-5.
Yeah. Can I go 8?
8, go 8. Yeah.
Can I go 8? That's good. Right, okay.
We always do ludicrous losses for Tottenham. They don't ever work.
So that drops us to 17th. Going on to the next week.
No, you're making us make West Ham get relegated, you bastard.
Well, I'm not. So now I am going to call these as defeats because they are the likely results. It ain't what we think is going to happen.
That's what I think they'll be.
Yeah. So I'll go 1. And then we'll start with John again. Palace versus Brighton.
Oh, the
Local derby.
Yeah.
What is that derby? How is it a fucking derby?
It's the M23.
M23, isn't it?
Alan Mullery.
Yeah.
Something to do with Alan Mullery, the
right,
manager
okay.
of the time, wasn't it? Nigel told us before, didn't he? 1-1.
Gary, Arsenal versus Brentford. That's a tough one.
It's
Brentford
a tough
good.
one, but I'm going
Brentford
to
are
go
good against his
I'm going
teams.
to go 2-1.
You fancy Arsenal for the league, didn't you?
Yeah,
I do
think
now.
they're- I think they're
I do.
strong.
After they beat Man United, I do.
They are
Watford,
pretty much
Fulham
the
versus
same.
Forest.
Well, Forest away, not very good. I go Fulham 2-0.
Southampton versus Wolves. That is a bastard game. I think there's going to be a winner in that. There's going to be a winner in that. I'm going to go. I'm looking at the league for us. What I need. I think Wolves are going to go anyway. It could be Southampton, but I'm going to go for a Wolves win. On that one, just to keep us off the bottom for a minute. Right.
Nick, Southampton's last 2 home games have lost 1-0 at home, the last 2 in the Premier League. If that helps you.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm giving Wolves a win. It'll be a tight game anyway. I think Wolves will get out of it. It's no problem. John, Leicester versus Spuds.
1-0. Oh no,
6-1.
Leicester versus Spuds. 6-1 Leicester.
Yeah,
6-1.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we won't go 6-1 Leicester because they're going to kind of affect what's down the bottom. So
We're trying to get an
I'll do a
actual.
realistic one. Okay.
We're trying to get an actual result out. Yeah.
If I'm honest, 1-0 Spurs.
Okay.
Yeah, they will probably win that one. Yeah.
Okay. Gary, Bournemouth, Newcastle.
I'll go 1-1.
Okay. Watford, Leeds, Man U.
Oh, at least don't like Man U, do they? Man United 2-1.
Okay, people who are watching, we're only doing this run of fixtures and the next one just to see where we could be after the next 3 games. So you ain't going to be watching us do this through the whole season, I promise.
Well, it's quite interesting though because I've been thinking about these next 3 games.
I know.
Go on.
Right, so who went last?
You did.
You
Gary
did.
did.
Gary did. So it's John. Back to John.
What are we on?
City Villa.
3-0 City.
Okay. Gary, Liverpool, Everton.
Oh, well, I'm going to go 2-1 to Liverpool.
Okay. All right, let's calculate that.
See, but I don't actually think we'll lose against Chelsea, but you've put that down. So
No. But it's the likely.
No,
It's the likely result, though, John. Is what I'm saying. It is, isn't it? Let's face it. It's not saying that it will happen.
no. Well, you are.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, look, we go along to all these games hoping that we're going to win, don't we? It's just what we're probably 2-2 on that. Me and Nick think we're going to lose. You and Gary think we don't. Well, we're not.
Right. So start at the top again. Villa, Arsenal, John.
Villa, Arsenal, 1-0 Arsenal.
Okay. Gary, Brighton versus Fulham. That's a tough game. That's a really tough game.
Brighton, Fulham. Well, I'll go 1-0 to Brighton.
Okay. Watford, Brentford versus Palace.
Brentford Palace. Oh, Palace
That's another bastard game. Isn't it?
I think Brentford 1-0. Brentford 1-0.
Okay. back to this is my one actually, isn't it? Chelsea
Yeah.
versus Southampton. I think Chelsea will beat Southampton. I can't see Southampton beating them. I'll go 1-0. Right, back up to John. Everton versus Leeds.
1-1.
Okay. And Gary.
Forest, Man
Forest
City.
versus City.
0-2.
0-2. Wolves versus Bournemouth. I'm going to go for a... Oh, sorry, it's Watford. Wolves versus Bournemouth.
What's that? Wolves? Oh, Wolves 1-0.
Okay, Newcastle versus fucking Liverpool. Have got a tough run coming up, haven't they?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-1 on that one. And back up to John. Man United versus Leicester.
Man United versus Leicester will be Manchester United 3, Leicester 1.
See, Leicester are having a bit of a fucking tough time.
Leicester
They're not getting out of it yet, are they?
No, not at all.
Right, and then we go Tottenham.
Oh
Let's just give them 1-0. 1-0.
Yeah,
bastards. Calculate
I
that.
bet the goals in that game.
So we're still 3 points off bottom because Southampton will have not yet fucking won a game from there. So we're still just inside the relegation zone.
So
with Nottingham Forest next.
Yeah, so even if we lose those three games,
we
lose those 3 games, there is a chance that we can end up, 1 win and we move out of relegation zone again.
Yes, yeah, but what you can see is, Gary, you can now see a gap opening up with the bottom 6.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you are now all of a sudden 6 points from 14th.
Yeah.
So that means you are probably in a season long for the rest of the season, fucking relegation battle in a small little group there. You've just got to be the top of that group. I don't think Leicester will stay there. I think Everton will start to push out. And there's a good chance that Southampton will as well. So it's not going to be easy down there.
It depends, It depends whether I mean you expect a new manager bounce with Everton, but they've got some tough games early in his reign.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they're going to get that new manager bounce or not. And then you've got to say that I watched Everton last week. They appear to have no pace and no idea. They've got I don't know. I don't know what's going on with their one and only striker. They look like a team devoid of all confidence. So whether Dyche can turn that around in time or not, I don't know.
Well, he's got 40 million. He's got 40 million to spend because they sold the winner, haven't they? They sold him to Newcastle.
But how can they spend 40 million?
But look, I'll tell you what, we won't go on to the next run of games. But if you have a look at it, so Southampton, all of a sudden, when we play Forest, they're playing Leeds. That's a winnable game for them.
Yeah.
Who are Everton playing? They're playing Villa. That's winnable for them as well.
Yeah.
Leicester have got Arsenal. They're fucked, basically. Leicester, by the look of it, they're just going to keep plummeting. Obviously, they must have a good run of games coming up at some point. You like to think. And Bournemouth, bless them, they're playing City.
I think personally, after them 3 games, I think we'll have. I'm being very optimistic here, and it could backfire very easily. I think we could end up with 22. I just think we're going to beat Chelsea at home.
Look.
We did it a couple of years ago.
It can't backfire. You're just being optimistic. There's nothing wrong with that.
We should have beat Chelsea early in the season, didn't we?
Yeah,
but there's a bit of calculated optimism there because Chelsea aren't playing well, right? And I know we're not.
No, they're not. Nor Tottenham,
and I don't
really.
think Tottenham are. But
we saw what Potter did to West Ham with Brighton.
Yeah, but
I am sorry.
Yeah,
I can't see any way David Moyes gets anything out of that game.
Yeah, maybe.
And building on what Nick said earlier, I did actually watch when that new Ukrainian came on last week.
Fucking hell!
And he looks. It was a bit frightening, wasn't it, watching him play?
Yeah, unbelievable. If he could finish, because he had a couple of chances, it would have been like goal of the fucking year that he could when he came on. Watched for about 3 players.
He's going to be running. He's going to be up against Sufal.
John. I mean, he's quick.
He's 88 million. He's
fucking quick. He's really quick.
Sufal's got to put him into row H early
Nick,
doors.
I was going to ask you quickly.
Go on.
I was going to ask you quickly, Nick. Have you heard any transfer gossip about? Obviously, with Dalton gone now, we still haven't got a centre back in yet to replace him, and a striker maybe.
I've heard so much gossip, but it's all out there. And the thing is, I think as Sean said on the when he phoned in last week, anyone that says that they know, they don't. What he said, the situation is at the moment, we're scattergunning. We've got fucking loads of bids out for players, and they're just waiting to see what drops. So we've got loads of concurrent bids out for strikers and defenders. And
the one I heard today was Callum Chambers from Villa. That's the one I heard today. He went from Arsenal to Villa. Apparently, we're after him. But obviously, there's a lot of apparentlys, and like Nick said.
What is he then? What is Callum Chambers?
Callum Chambers, a right back.
Okay.
What's Scamacca and Bowen's? Bowen. What's Scamacca and In's return day? Because I saw the other day they're talking maybe they might be back to Chelsea or Tottenham game. One of them.
Yeah. Chelsea. You should see the return of Scamacca for Chelsea. Cornet, believe it or not, has been. He's spent the last 4 weeks in France having a rest, and he's come back with the specialist. He's come back, and they don't know what the situation is. He's going to train for the first time in weeks tomorrow. They're going to try and see if he's anywhere near match fit or how the injury is, because they think they've fixed it, but probably not. Because it's Cornet, you know.
It's a car fisher. Did you see the training video? It's like he was hopping like a fucking kangaroo on that leg. He looked fine.
The other one, Zuma, has got a thigh tear. Yeah.
We can't be letting anyone else go, can we?
No, Zuma's got a torn thigh muscle, so he's apparently it's massively swollen at the moment, and they don't know what the damage is until the swelling goes down. So you would think we'd be looking for a centre half. Apparently, we're not.
I'll tell you what, if Zuma was a horse, they'd have put him down by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would have.
Honestly, what's this Garino said here? Chelsea must have broken FFP every which way, but found a loophole.
You know what they do? But you know what they do? That's what he said there. So they sign them on these. That geezer they've signed. I heard it on TalkSport. 88 million. They've bought him on. They've got him on an 8.5 year contract. So they spread the fee, their wages or something like that. It's a really strange way they get away with it. But it's
like when you buy something out of a Littlewoods catalogue.
Buy now, pay later.
Jurgen Klopp was interviewed about it, and he got asked a question about it. He was very scathing about what Chelsea do. He didn't. He weren't putting any punches the way they get away with it. He was really.
He fucking moans about everything, doesn't he? He's so salty. He's so salty.
I like Klopp. I do like Klopp. I got to say, I do like.
He's so salty. He really is. He had the tonight, didn't he, Gary?
Yeah, because he said he was complaining because Liverpool lost against two sides, Brighton and Hove Albion.
Oh God!
boom. But anyway, Gary, we're gonna close the call, mate. Have you got one more thing that you'd like to talk about before you go?
No, not really. Just we shouldn't let anyone else go, and we've got to try and get maybe just one or two more in there, because once that window shuts, that's it.
Yeah.
We've got to make do with the rest of the season, you know. And, I'm not happy about the not getting the centre back in. No.
But look, but we know. I don't think we're going to get anyone else in. I actually don't think I don't think we're going to get anyone else in. The reason being, David Moyes. Mind you, having said that, David Moyes, I don't think he would have signed off on Danny Ings. So I think they're just giving him players now because he doesn't like players on the bench. He doesn't like players moaning. When you look at it, if we end up with Cornet back, you're going to have Cornet, Ben Rama, Ings, Scamacca, Benny. There's a lot of Antonio. You're going to be looking at all of a sudden 6 players for 3 spots. Which is good. I think that's how it should be. But I don't think that it's not an ideal scenario for Moyes. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like the pressure having players. You know, that's why he likes a small squad. He can't manage people.
The thing is, it's all right going forward, but it's the other end of the pitch where I'm concerned about. I mean, Aguirre's injury prone as well, isn't he? What if he goes down again?
But they're all really in trouble. They're all injury prone. I went through the list the other day. We know I called Zuma a sniper's nightmare because of his knees. But you got Kera. Kera has been good since he's been with us. Not playing football, he ain't been good, but he's injury wise he has been. Before he came to us, he was shocking. He had some awful injuries. Aguirre, as we know, I've said it many times, he does have wankles. He damaged them with us, and he's done that injury twice before. I think all the players back there are.
Serious question, right?
Yeah.
Could Klopp eat an apple for a letterbox?
Yeah, I really could, yeah.
Definitely
A lot of teeth.
Yeah.
Big teeth. But yeah, so no, look, he's got to get another centre back in, you know. Apparently they've been looking at this player, was it Sunderland, this player called Elise? He looks quite good.
Yeah. Do you know what
player.
Do you know what I find truly amazing is we've gone full circle. We wrote him off. We said he was too old. But how reliant have we become on Ogbonna again at the age of 30?
I forgot about
Yeah.
Ogbonna. I forgot about
mad,
Oggy. I
isn't
forgot
it?
about Oggy.
It's
Yeah.
mad how reliant
Sorry,
we
Oggy.
are on him there. You know?
Okay, and also, look, I'll tell you what. Before you go, I'm going to keep you here now. What do you make of the of the Areola debacle at the moment? I mean, if you are Areola and you've signed, because I know we've had some channels poo-pooing it, saying it's not Areola that have kicked off. Well, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, he has been moaning. He did think he was coming in to be first choice goalkeeper. Do you blame him if he's in a situation now, especially now Lloris is retired from the French national team? Do you blame him for being in for being pissed off, Areola, at the moment?
No.
If he would have signed up, do you not think that would have been in his contract something to assure him that he would be first?
No, you can't have that written into your contract, can you?
Well, I'm sure some do, but what I'm trying to say is, if he's been promised that and it hasn't come to affluence, then he has every right to be angry, doesn't he? Because it's almost like a gentleman's agreement's been broken. Now, I don't know if that was obviously discussed, but you'd imagine
Maddie said that as well. Yes, I agree. Selling Diop was a great idea. Another player was Moist. I completely agree. He looks good for Fulham.
Yeah.
When I've seen him play, he looks like a good player.
He's made a few mistakes.
One thing I would say is all this unrest, all this talk of last month as Moyes lost the dressing room.
Yeah.
Well, you can see now all these different things coming out with players. There certainly is a lot of unrest in that changing room. You can see it now. It can't all these rumours can't all be false, can they?
No, of course they can't be. But if you listen to some, it is. It's all good. It's all good at West Ham. Ignore the fact we're fucking 2 points off the relegation zone and we're 3 points off the bottom. There's nothing wrong at West Ham. It's all good. Be positive. Be positive. It's all really good.
The only thing I'd say to counter that is that, as much as the players may or may not be pissed off with Moyes, whatever their stance is, I do think the players have a sense of responsibility to what they say at this particular time. Now, I wasn't particularly offended or majorly, shocked by the things Antonio said, because he doesn't.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
Yes, I did. In my mother's life, I did. But it's the timing more than anything. It's the timing of the comments. Yeah. And I think, like we said about Moyes on that podcast, he's an employee of the club. The club look at what he says. Do they not do that with the players and their extracurricular stuff, or do they let them have free rein?
I just don't think you can do it, right? If I went onto a YouTube channel and started talking about my work and my employer and everything else,
you'd be in shit,
I'd be in trouble. I'd probably get a bullet, right? You're not allowed to do it. There's things in our terms and conditions that say you're not allowed to do it, right? So I'm very surprised that he can go on and talk about his employer and the way his manager does things within it, tactically within the team, and say how it's not working and point the responsibility at everybody else apart from himself. Even though he sort of reluctantly said, "Oh, maybe we haven't," he didn't say me and Gianluca have not performed as well. He should not be allowed to do that. I'm afraid, no way. He should be doing that. I spoke to what's his name, Phil off of Stop Hammer Time in pub before the last game, and he was saying, he's saying Antonio is very clear that he is setting himself up for his post football career. Doing punditry and doing adverts and doing all this sort of stuff. It's clear what he's doing.
Yeah. One quick thing I was going to ask you. A quick bit of fun. The next 3 games, just all of us now, just very quickly. How many points do you think we're all going to get? I think we're going to get 4 for the next 3.
None. I've said to you 18 times. We ain't going to get no points.
I'll tell you what. Well, look, I went for none in the previous games, and we ended up getting 1, wasn't it? We got the one at Leeds, and then I predicted a win against Everton. I've been strangely accurate with my predictions just lately. I reckon 0, none out of 3 games. They're going to get no points out of 3 games.
I'm going to say 3 points. I reckon we'll beat Chelsea at home.
Yeah, but again, we go along to these games. Me and John will be going to the home games, hoping that we win, right? But who knows?
If we get 4 for the next 3 games, then I think also then we've got the Forest game, which I think is very winnable. That could be 7 out of 12. But again, I'm being optimistic. I realise that.
I know.
4 from the next few games. 4 from the next 3 games would be fantastic.
It would. But anyway, Gary, we're gonna let you go, mate, just in case anyone else does want to phone in. But thank you very much for the call, mate.
Cheers, Gary.
All right, enjoy the game tomorrow, Gary. Ciao, mate.
Yeah,
Cheers, Ed.
Yeah.
Bye, mate. Bye.
I think Gary from Romford's created his own catchphrase. Oh, one quick thing.
I know. One more thing.
Everyone's saying it. Look, one more thing. One quick thing. Everyone's saying it. One more thing.
But yeah, look, it is interesting. I mean, look, but we are getting it a lot. We're getting it on it, and like I said, I know it's negative on the channel, but there are there are channels out there. I get affected deeply. I've always been the same. Gary and John will tell you when West Ham are in a bad moment, I'm in a bad moment. I'm in a bad moment.
Yeah, you take it
okay.
personally.
Seriously, I am. I'm not doing this for effect. We're not jumping on a negative train for fucking clicks. Unfortunately, this is just me. If things are negative at West Ham, which they are at the moment, that's what you're going to get from me. I do think I'm a realist. Maybe sometimes I do err and I look at things on the negative side. I try not to, but then with David Moyes really has been a test for me to the point where even though I didn't like him, but I'm struggling to even find a glimmer of hope sometimes from him because John, I'll be negative before a game and then it'll come to match day and I'll be all positive. Yeah, I'm not getting that anymore. I'm not even getting it anymore.
No.
No.
Yeah, because that's all you got. That's all you've got, really. I mean, you know, it's all you can do is read things honestly. They are right, and I think we've all done that. We've all done that. As much as certain people like to take the piss and say, "Oh, you're negative" and everything else, we don't do that deliberately. It's just the way we feel. That's just the way we see things. If we saw something positive, if I went along to Newcastle and we somehow turned Newcastle over and played champagne football, or even got a draw up at Newcastle, played champagne football, I think we'd all adopt a different. We start thinking, oh, perhaps there is some hope, right?
Yes,
but just cannot see it at the moment. No. I can see a win at home to Nottingham Forest. We all can, right? We can all see a win at home to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
But it's the next 3 games. We've got to get something out of these next 3 games, surely.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? You'd like to think so. I think we can. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not impossible. It's not. They're London derbies, and we have, John's right, Gary's right. We have managed to sort of get things out of this. I'm just not seeing anything in that team. I said it during the week in my show. I said it's a funny old game, as Greavesy used to say. You never know what's going to happen. But I do to repeat what I said there. It's not really that funny anymore with West Ham. It's predictable. I think we probably will beat Forest. Don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we probably will beat Forest,
definitely.
But I think we will lose the games that we think that we're going to lose. I don't see many surprises. I just don't. I am sorry.
No.
I am sorry, but yeah. So we have got one more call coming in a minute, I believe.
Who is it? Tell us.
It's a surprise. It's
Go
a
on,
surprise.
who is it?
So,
come on, mate.
But come on, go for a few comments, John. Do your fucking job. Come on, I'll sack you.
All right, mate. We was having a good. Gary kept saying one more thing. I didn't know what was going on.
I'll sack you.
One more thing, Lieutenant Colombo.
Yeah.
They keep calling him Colombo now. His nickname should be Colombo.
I know. Right, here we go.
Caller.
Here we go.
See, no point.
Right, hang on 1 minute.
Oh, please be. Who is it? It ain't Will Doyle, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Hello there. This is Clarence Booze.
Hey, how are you? How are you guys? You all right?
I'm very well. This is Charlie Walsh from Hammers Chat.
Hello, Charlie. How you doing?
Charlie.
It is. He's phoning up to take umbrage. I made a bit of a throwaway comment earlier on. Somebody mentioned Hammers Chat, and they were saying, "Was it John said who are they?" And I said, "Yeah, it's the other small channel, the other small West Ham channel over the other side." And one of your fans in the chat took exception to it. I said, "I do know they've got more subscribers than us. I do know."
I think it's all fine taking friendly shots at everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Give me a channel. I'll take some shots. Let's cause some problems.
But how are you, mate? Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I was just sitting, listening to the show, enjoying it while I was sitting here working. Despite all of West Ham's horrendousness at the moment. How about you all?
Yeah, no, I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. So as you know, we're joined with by John and Gary. What I wanted to ask you, mate, because I know that you're a bit of a strange one when it comes to David Moyes, because you are not. No. What I mean is,
I'll take that how you've said it.
No. What I mean is, you admit you're not a Moyes fan. You admit that you didn't want him. You admit that he didn't want to come back in, but you have stuck with him even though you've been admitting that you don't like him for a lot longer than many have in your situation. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real about it. I don't like him.
Yeah.
I've never liked him. I think even on the video I posted earlier on Hammers Chat, I called him a liar. I mean, I actively dislike the guy. But I think the difference was after the initial period when he came back the second time, and let's be real, you probably saw it. I'm sure I spoke to Gary on the podcast about it as well, just absolutely rinsing him for everything. And Jesus Christ, I've rinsed that man. I felt like I felt like he'd proved me wrong on a couple of things. You know, the 2 seasons that followed are 2 of the best seasons I've ever seen as a West Ham fan, and I felt like I'd give him the credit that he was due in that. Do you know what? Maybe he's a better coach than I gave him for. I still had massive issues with him. His substitutions are all over the shop, in game management, stubborn as all hell in the transfer market. I've never liked him, but I felt like someone like Pablo Fornals, for example, was a really good example of a really good example of someone who he had molded to make work. You know, here's a Spanish midfielder, and he got him absolutely running like a wide midfielder like you've never seen before, to the point where he's one of the most important people in the team. So I sort of felt like he proved me wrong on certain instances. And so when it came to this season, and I felt like it was quite clear in the summer, he was trying something different. He was buying certain players that he would never have bought before. He was playing a sort of a more, it's difficult to say more possession based, because I don't think David Moyes quite know what that means. But like,
but do you think he tried?
Actively,
do you think he tried to play a possession based game?
I felt like he was at least trying to progress the side in a way that I would like. Not necessarily making it work, but I would like. And so I felt like, given all the injuries we got, I was willing to give him that time. The thing is that like you said, Nick, when it turned around was when I sort of all of a sudden said, you know, it wasn't working. He'd had the time. We'd come back from the World Cup. He had those players back, and realistically, there was no change. We were still god awful. And at that point, it becomes untenable, because you've had the time, you've had the players, what are you doing now? You're just failing. So that's when it sort of changed. But, you know, I was happy to be proved wrong from him for 2 years, and hopefully he can somehow do it again. Although the one thing I will say is, despite the fact that I've spent the entire season sort of going, I'm willing to give him time, I never felt like he was going to turn it round, because again, I don't like the guy.
So was this a credit? Was this a credit in the bank thing? Was it?
I don't know if I'd word it that way, but yes, sure. I think for me, it would just be like, do you know what? He's proved me wrong. Prove me wrong again. I'm fine with admitting when I'm wrong, and I felt like I was maybe overly harsh, but I felt like this season I've probably been overly kind as well to him, if we're being totally honest about it.
But surely even the most generous of supporters, you know, the people who love Moyes would now say that, you know, that credit has been well and truly used up. He needs to start paying back. So it's building some new credit now, right?
I was one of those people.
Yeah,
100%, because I was one of those people. I was being overly generous, and I think it is like I've been saying it's done for 2 or 3 games at this point, and I've been overly kind. So it is what it is at this point. You know, the owners are the slowest moving people you've ever seen in this context. What are you going to do? You know, that's the way it happens. We've just got to put up with it. Unfortunately,
they really are. What do you
another 2 games?
What do you think about, you know, I know your channel's been doing this quite heavily as well, but about the you know, him not using youth players at all, and people heading for the exit door like Harrison Ashby. What's your take on that?
I understand to a certain extent how in modern day football there's obviously a hell of a lot more to lose from his position. Like, I get that 100%. I understand that. But realistically, what the hell are they there for? When you're, especially the worst one for me was the centre-back crisis we had, where we had literally no fit centre-backs, and he was still putting full-backs at centre-back as opposed to playing, back then it would have been Elise. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it in that specific scenario. Bizarre, I understand where, you know, someone, if you've got a senior player who can play in that position competently, sure, fine, get it. But in that, I think it's ridiculous. I think he needs to understand that just to understand the fan base, because I think that's one of the worst parts about it, is there's no connection for him. He doesn't figure it out at all. He doesn't realize what he's talking about. I think at the beginning when he first came back and he's like, that's what I do, I win, Red Bull model, he's saying things to just say things for the sake of saying them. He's not actually telling the truth.
I agree with that. I agree with it.
I've always said, for me, Moyes talks too much, and he just digs himself 100%. Further and further down. He doesn't need to say half the things he says, which is why we know most of what he says is obviously scripted and comes from the top, if you like, and that's the problem I have with it. But
the cherry on the cake was a podcast just recently, wasn't it? I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. It's disappointing.
Why would you throw yourself under the bus like that? I mean, it's one thing making that mistake, which I'm sure many managers miss many players, many opportunities. You would do that. But in that scenario, in that January transfer window, when we needed a striker, to then come out after that, when it kind of did go bandy. I know we finished 7th, but we didn't win any. We didn't win anything. There was opportunities there. To then sort of reflect on that when things are as bad as they are at the moment and admit that on a podcast. What the fuck? Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, it was a timing though, wasn't it?
I mentioned this to Nick on Twitter whenever it was we were going back and forth about Noble the other day. Already on today, I don't know. I've barely slept, so my days have all got into one. But the one comment from that podcast that really, really got to me wasn't even necessarily the fact he admitted there was a striker who's gone on to do great things that he could have bought and rejected. It was the way he spoke about Newman that really got to me. The fact he said, "Oh yeah, I've got this scout came to me," and I'm like, "Hang on, excuse me. This is a guy who's just been hired to be head of recruit. Like, this is an important position in the club, and you've just gone, nah, he's just a scout came to me, and I thought, he's not on it. Yeah. I don't like it." That's really condescending. Yeah, and if you're the manager who wants to be in control, I find that a bit. I don't know. That doesn't sit well for me.
Newman's his mate. They played together at Bristol City, as we know. So I don't know if that was tongue in cheek or he genuinely meant it. It sounds an odd comment to make about a friend who you possibly got a job at West Ham. Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
he did record that video though. He recorded that video about Alvarez before the World Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, October.
And it was shown after the World Cup when he was a World Cup winner. So he looked twice as stupid. So the release of that video, the timing release of that video, to me, I'm a bit suspicious of that, Nick, based on what 100%. You said, and the fact that guy who runs that Diary of a CEO is very close to Karen Brady. I think his time was coming to an end, and they decided to throw him under the bus. I don't think David Moyes would have volunteered for it to be released that week unless he's stupid.
No. But nonetheless, even if he was queued up for it, and he wouldn't have volunteered for it, that was definitely a club release because he's Brady's friends with the Dragon, obviously. But still, David Moyes, they didn't put the words in his mouth. He wasn't reading from a script. He willingly offered that information, didn't he?
Yeah. And do you know what? From a fan channel perspective as well, and I'm sure you guys have reached out to former footballers and maybe current footballers and try to get them on, just as we have as Hammers Chat and every other fan channel has at some point. And we get routinely, and I understand 100% why, we get routinely denied to talk to anyone who works with the club currently. Makes perfect sense, right? You don't want to put them in a position where someone asks a dodgy question, it becomes an article, whatever. What I don't understand is how the club have let David Moyes go on this podcast and say this stuff and let it loose, because there's no way he doesn't have editorial control to at least some extent to say, I should maybe take that comment out. And the other one, Mikel Antonio, how is that happening? That shouldn't happen. That's crazy. How is our current striker gone out and said stuff like that? That makes no sense to me. How can you as a club, and again, he will 1000% have some level of editorial control in that, and he was almost gleefully ready to say these things, and they just put it out into the world.
He had it queued up, didn't he? He had it queued up. He knew what he was going to be saying,
He tried to say it like a couple of minutes beforehand. When I listened to the whole thing, he tried to say it a couple of minutes before. That is insane to me. That is truly crazy, because in a relegation fight, that's not acceptable. No. Especially, we saw what happened with Declan Rice at the World Cup, where he said something and everyone lost their minds about it.
Yeah.
Realistically, how are you going to see that and go, watch this one, guys? Hold my drink. Watch this. Yeah, I might leave. I might not. What are you? What is going on? How is there so
it's not only that.
control
It's
in
not.
that
It's not
scenario?
only that. If that goes back the whole season, he's basically. I'm not a Moyes fan, but it goes back the whole season. He's been undermining Moyes. Earlier in the season, he said that Moyes doesn't go for a game until it reaches 75 minutes. Then he throws everything at it, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I think 2 weeks ago, he came up with a comment and said, "Oh yeah, we've been trying to play differently. Perhaps myself and Gianluca have not done as well as we could have done, but this new style of football, it ain't working." So he's just basically undermined his manager twice publicly, and then he's followed up with this one. So to me, the guy's trying to engineer a move in the most public way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. He is. I mean, look, he's 33. He's 33. He's a player that is entirely reliant on the physical attributes of his game. So as an aging player, some players will age like a fine wine. Unfortunately, Antonio isn't going to, because his game is all about the physical attributes of his game.
Power, yeah.
So as the pace and power starts to fade, I think this is probably going to be. He's not going to play till he's 37, is he? This is probably his last move.
Last move, a couple of years somewhere.
Yeah, so he probably does want that, and I think he can see as well. Looking at it from another perspective, we all expect players to be eternally loyal to the club, but we know that clubs are not.
He has no
players.
He
Clubs
has
are
no
not loyal to
emotional.
players. Once they get older, they'll get rid of them. They'll discard them.
Relationship with the club, really, does he? He has no emotional tie.
No,
For him, it is just a job, which I respect, and it is just a job, and it's a short career, as we've said. To me, I wasn't highly offended with what he said, but it's purely the wrong time to come out and say it. Like Charlie said, when we're in a relegation battle, why say it at all? The thing is it's almost like read the room. Like you said about Moyes, read the room, Antonio. And I won't go into that stadium the next home game and boo Antonio and things like that. But because of what he's done, he's put himself in the firing line amongst many fans.
Can you ask questions about David Moyes about that? Because surely for me, I mean, there's managers out there. Let's look at Fergie, for instance, Man United. If one of his players did something or said something like that he didn't like, they would deal with it internally. They wouldn't be doing it again. And if they did, it'd fuck them off. They'd be gone. David Moyes he gives that kind of really hard, horrible exterior. No, you can't call him Moisey if you're a journalist and stuff like that. But it just strikes me a little bit that he's a bit of a soft touch and a pushover to his favourites that are in that team. It's like he builds a circle for himself, and he seems like he's scared to upset them.
Well, can Antonio really be a favourite anymore if he's sort of?
I think he still is. I think he trusts him.
But he can't trust him. He's belittled him all season, like Gary just said. He's calling out his tactics and things like that. Can he really be seen as a favourite anymore, or is it more of the case of, well, I ain't got no other options?
Well, he wouldn't be my favourite. Put it like that.
No. But also, if you go back, you had didn't Soufal come out in? Obviously, that might have been misinterpreted, but it was in a Czech newspaper, wasn't it? Wasn't it, Charlie? He came out having a moan, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He basically said he wanted to leave because he wasn't getting enough game time and stuff like that. Or I think the exact way he worded it was, if I don't start getting more game time, then I might have to look at my options or something.
That's normal.
That's an ultimatum.
And he was straight back in the team, and he ain't been out of the team since.
That's not an ultimatum.
Oh, it is,
not an ultimatum.
John.
That is stating the obvious. If you're a footballer who wants to play games, you are not going to be happy sitting on the bench.
No. I'm going to take exception with somebody like Soufal, who when he made that comment, the reason he was dropped was because he'd been massively shit before that.
Agreed.
Massively shit. You would at least think, as a footballer, or David Moyes would have gone to him and said, "Look, I've stuck with you, Vlad, but I'm not being funny, mate. Your form ain't improving. I'm going to have to give someone else a go."
I wouldn't disagree that his form was terrible. I'm not saying that. But a player wants to play football. And if he's not getting game time at West Ham, whether it be through his own fault or form or not, then he's got to look to leave, of course. Otherwise, what are you going to be doing? Just stagnate at a club and not play?
Yeah.
It's pointless. So I don't take offence to them saying things like that. But with Antonio, someone put it in the chat. He called for competition. He called for a second striker.
He did, yeah.
And it's almost like he's thinking, let's get a second striker. But that's what I want you to get. A second striker, not a striker that's better than me. Yeah, and Scamacca on paper, probably is. He definitely is better than Antonio at this precise moment. And Antonio's like shit.
What I don't like, and I will say that, and I don't think it's a common thing among West Ham fans, because I do think that generally, although Antonio frustrates the life out of most of us, we all love him. You know, he is a bit of a cult hero for us. We love him. We all remember what he's done for us. I mean, to have got to our top Premier League goal scorer, I know it's not a lot of goals, but when you consider the amount of positions that he's played in and stuff like that, he's been a really important player for us.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is when you've got all of these other things going on. You've got David Moyes. You've got all the things that are wrong at the club at the moment. You know, you've got Soufal coming out and saying that. When you do hear and see, and when you hear some people speak, it feels like they'll jump on Antonio more than others, and I don't really get that. I'm not sure. It does feel like he takes a battering, which is unfair sometimes.
We used to talk about it last year with his dip in form when it happened last year. I think Antonio was seen as he took a lot of the brunt of the frustration of West Ham not having a proper striker. He was seen as the easy one to attack. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because West Ham didn't go out and get that 20 goal a season striker, Antonio was the easy target. And you're right, he is top scorer. Okay, there isn't a lot of goals to get, but he still scored more Premier League goals for West Ham than 22 of the strikers we've signed under Gold and Sullivan. You know, so
yeah. No. Look, he has been an important player for us. I've always liked the effort that he's put in, but unfortunately, I think you do have to look at him now and think he's done.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's done now.
I think you have to look at him and say, here's someone who has a role at the team, but he's no longer vital like he has been for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think if you said to me, would you like Mikel Antonio in the squad, on the bench, either to come on the wing, up front when you need it? Yeah, I'd love him. He's someone who has a lot of utility, someone who has a lot of ability. He can't pass or shoot most of the time to save his life, but he has stuff that is super useful to the team. I'd love him to stay, but you know, he was, like you said, he was the one who was calling for competition last season. He was flipping saying, I want to retire at West Ham. And now they buy someone and instantly he's like, well, you know, maybe we'll see, maybe we won't. I'm not particularly offended by what he said, like John said, but I'm just looking at you going, what do you actually want? Because you seem to be saying a lot of things that are really sort of contradictory, but it is what it is. I hope he stays because he's super useful. And to be honest with you, I don't trust West Ham, David Moyes, David Sullivan to come anywhere close to replacing him. So I really hope he doesn't, but I really hope he does stay. But it says a lot that, as Nick said, look, I'm not going to compare him to Fergie too much, but it says a lot that this sort of stuff is becoming a little bit too frequent for me right now under David Moyes. And I mean, let's be real, he was one of them. So, you know, it is what it is.
Sorry, 1 minute, Charlie. Right, look, I'm going to address what's going on in the chat because it's getting fucking boring, to be honest. And you're all just as bad as one another. Whoever started it, stop arguing, stop referencing each other. Just leave it alone. If you can't talk to each other nicely, don't talk to each other at all. Otherwise, I'm going to start fucking putting you on a timeout. I've never had to do that on a show like that before. So please stop it.
I'll say this as well. And I'll say this as well. Eastside specifically hates me, which is fair enough. I don't mind him or anyone saying anything about me. Don't say stuff about each other. It's so stupid.
But
feel free to chat whatever you want. But
and to be honest with you,
to be quite honest, we're piss takers. We don't mind piss taking. Like Fake Taxi, who was just on before you, Gary's. That's nice, but don't just start fucking being horrible about people that are coming on screen or phoning in. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to do that. Please,
and I hate Nick.
Just stop.
I hate Nick, and I speak to him nicely most days. So.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true. I have to talk to you. I have to suffer you as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. But anyway, right. So let's see if they behave themselves. Anyway, fucking hell.
They've all become good.
Yeah.
They're all good boys. They're all good boys.
Just be nice. Nice, mild mannered piss taking.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way. This is the way I think about it. Imagine everyone was standing in a room and you were just shouting at each other for no reason whatsoever.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I know. Well, that would have been a full-blown punch-up earlier on, I think. But
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You can't. It is what it is.
Can't please everyone. Can't please everyone.
No, you can't. You can't. Fucking hell. But yeah. So the next 3 games, Charlie. The next 3 games. Are you expecting anything from Newcastle, Chelsea, and Tottenham?
No. No. I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't expect anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
if we're being honest about it. I think I want to look at it positively and go, oh my God, we got a win. Maybe we could do something. It's not going to happen, is it? Really?
No.
It's not going to happen. I think realistically, if we can scrape any points from it whatsoever, then that's a massive bonus. I think my bigger issue is that I would suspect the board would look at it the same way. And that is very concerning, because that probably means we could potentially get 1 or 2 points, maybe 1 point from these next 3 games, and he would still be in charge, which I think is a massive issue.
Well,
Yeah,
I think if we could get
issue.
0 points in the next 3 games, he'll still be in charge, because they'll be
He's
looking
not
at the
going
Forest
anywhere.
game. They'll be looking at the Forest game. I'm sure they will.
and at
It's
that point, right? If you are in the bottom 3, even if you're just inside the bottom 3, with, like I said, we looking at the table now, the predictions that we've done earlier on. So we were quite conservative with the results as well. You know, we tried to be, we weren't doing it all to favour us. But you had, there was one game that could have swung either way that we could see, and that was Southampton versus Wolves. I gave the win to Wolves because I think Wolves will get out of it anyway. So that keeps Southampton rooted to the bottom. But then after those 3 games, if we lose them, we would be in the bottom 3 on 18 points, and we would be 6 points from 14th. That's a fucking big gap that's opening up there, isn't it?
Well, you're in a proper relegation battle then, aren't you?
That's a big gap.
Yeah.
That's incredibly difficult to get out of. Because, it's all very well saying you're only 6 points away, but then you've got to start hoping that everyone in front of you are going to lose. Because what tends to happen is when you're in that fight, when you win, other teams will win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was talking to someone who was in your chat earlier. I was talking to the Disabled team the other day about this, because he's a Leeds fan and we were talking about it. I really strongly think that neither of us will be 100% safe until the final day. I think it is going to go that long. Am I confident that we will end up staying up? Yes, mainly because there's 3 worse teams than us in the league. But that's not any sort of that's not a positive. If you have to say at the end of the season you stayed up because there were 3 worse teams, that's a damning indictment, especially when you look at those teams who are probably a team like Bournemouth, who look as championship as they come, a team like Southampton, who look like they've been done for at least 3 seasons at this point, and Everton, who's so bad that their fans are running down the street after players' cars just to tell them how bad they are. Yeah. I mean, that is hugely negative. I don't think we'll be safe until the end of the season. I think we will stay up, but that's not a good thing, and that's not a situation you want to be in.
Also, it says 2 things about Moyes. Number 1, he would have returned us to where he found us. And number 2, he would have taken a team that finished 7th last year, invested nearly 200 million quid, and finished 4th from bottom.
Yeah. Well, it will be 200 million by the time this window's closed.
Yeah,
over 2 windows.
Whether it's now, whether it's in a few games' time, or whether it's in the summer, Moyes must go.
He would, and Charlie, if he does go, so I think we've all kind of agreed that the only way Moyes isn't here until the end of the season. I think if he loses the next 3 and then Forest, they'll have to act because they'll have no fucking choice. It'd be madness not to. But at that point, then, so you'd be looking at 24 games, possibly. You're in the bottom 3, but you could be bottom depending on how Southampton start doing. At that point, then. Who the fuck do you get in then after 24 games?
It's way too late. It's way too late.
That's what I mean. This February's huge, isn't it? February is the month.
Yeah, but it's incompetence by the leadership to just leave it rotting. I mean, we all know that something should have been done during the World Cup. A new manager should have been brought in to give the new manager several weeks to work with the players and get the house in order, because we all predicted this. We knew what would happen.
I know.
We knew we'd come back with the same formation, the same players and everything else, and we knew we'd go on a losing streak. It was so predictable. We're not geniuses, are we? Do you think
there's any risk that they will churn out the line? David Moyes is the man to get us promoted again. So if we're looking like we're going to go down, we're going to stick with him to the end of the season. Do you think there is any way they could do that?
No way. No way.
No, I think if we went down, they would instantly act. I think they would get rid of some, but that's just because I think the only reason they think they're keeping him now is because he saved us before. If he doesn't save us, then there's no way he stays. I think realistically, I make Virgil right, to be honest. I think if it does get to that stage, there probably would be a caretaker. I would suspect it's Warburton, and I wouldn't be I'm not awfully against it, but it's not the most inspiring thing in the world. I'm not
Yeah,
awfully against it.
It becomes a case of it couldn't get any worse, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
if things go as we expect, or as Nick and Nat expects, or as most people expect in the next 3 games, you can't really get any worse than the situation we're in. Really. So anybody, a lot of people will see anybody as better than Moyes, won't they? Whether it be Warburton or not.
Well, I think people, and people take umbrage with that because they look at what David Moyes has done, and you look at him as a profile, and you say, how is this manager better than Moyes? It's not. It's David Moyes now. The situation that David Moyes is in, where there are clearly issues. And do you know what we said before? When you bring in a sticking plaster manager, which is what David Moyes was, he was brought in to save us. Yeah. They come in, they fix the simple things, don't they? You know, they see the running stats are low, they improve that. But then as time goes on, they get found out because they haven't got many ideas. The issue is I don't think that type of manager can save themselves when they're in this situation. I don't think David Moyes can say. I don't think he can. I don't think he can recover this. The only hope that we've got is that, as someone said in the chat there, is that we win some critical 6-pointers that are down there, and we end up surviving by the skin of our teeth.
That is true, though, isn't it? That is true. That comment. We do tend to win those games.
We didn't beat Wolves. We didn't beat Wolves.
Wolves away.
6-pointer.
Yeah, but it's Wolves away.
Was in the bottom 3.
Yeah, but did we expect to win? I went up there. I travelled up there.
We lost to Forest. We lost to Forest.
Yeah, we shouldn't have lost to Forest, though. I went to that game as well. You remember? That was no way. We were mugged out of that game. But I think we will win the home games that we're supposed to win. We rolled past Everton. I think we will roll past Forest as well. And you get some funny results at the end of the season as well, don't you? So we might stay up, but I have no faith in it.
No, that's it. And Charlie,
has Deitch been confirmed?
Not yet. No.
No, it is done though. It is done. Right. Do you think that it will save Everton? Do you think that is what they need? I mean, if you look, I'm actually part of a big Everton Facebook page. When we started the channel, I joined all these because I used to push the videos out on their pages. Yeah. And they are massive. The fans are massively in favour of Deitch.
They were more in on all the callers to Talk Sport were more in favour of Deitch over Bielsa.
Yeah,
and that surprised me. I think they just see Deitch as a bit more of a stability, a bit more know-how down that end of the league. I think Bielsa is seen as a risk because I think his methods are to some extent seen as a bit of like madness almost. You know what I mean? And I think when you're battling it down the bottom, you can't be conceding loads of goals because that means you need to score more, obviously. And I think someone like Deitch will go in there and try and nick 1-0 wins. And at the end of the day, boring or not, Everton just need wins, don't they? So their fans are more realistic. You know what I mean?
That's right. Right, Charlie, right. Moyes has been sacked. We go away to we lose against Derby. We go away to Newcastle. Moyes has been sacked. Who would your choice be if you could pick an achievable manager? Who would you put in place?
At that point, it's got to be Rafa Benitez, I guess.
You think Benitez?
I mean, I love Marcelo Bielsa, right? Yes. And when we were linked to him the first time around, when it ended up being Bilic, I was super in favour of it, even though I think it's kind of the most suicidal move you can make. Yeah. Like the thing is with Bielsa, it could go absolutely incredibly, or it could go absolutely awfully, and there is zero in between. Yeah. There is no in between whatsoever. Yeah. And I love the style. I love the effort he manages to get players to put into it. I love him. But I do believe that if he was to come in at Everton or West Ham, Everton, you were just talking about how their fans might prefer Dyche. I think you probably should go for Dyche out of the two of them because I think I think Bielsa would relegate anyone because he's just gonna. Bielsa with a preseason. Again, this is something else I spoke to the disabled team about because obviously a Leeds fan and I wanted his perspective.
Yeah.
Bielsa with a preseason sounds beautiful. Bielsa potentially before the World Cup break sounds beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
But Bielsa coming in and making something happen, it seems mad to me. So I think at that point, you just have to get Benitez. But
He would also break. I mean, our squad is very fragile as it is. With the way he plays football, they'd be fucking dying all over the pitch, wouldn't
Oh
they?
yeah, Jesus, yeah. Can you imagine? It'd be an absolute mess.
No,
Getting
Zuma to press high.
Imagine Zuma.
The one person that gets mentioned sort of in passing but never sort of properly, right, is Warburton. And I think the only reason I would say I'm okay with Warburton, I know it sounds awful. I know it sounds awful, right? I know it does.
Yeah.
But here's my one argument for Warburton.
Go on.
He's been working with these players for 6 months.
Continuity.
He knows them inside out. He knows them inside out. He plays an attacking style of football. Pre-coming to West Ham, I wouldn't have been shocked if a Premier League team had given him a chance.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever proven himself to be good enough to be a Premier League manager, but he's proven himself to be good enough to be given a shot.
Do you think
and
he could be good enough?
For someone who's going to come in. Well, I was going to say, if you're looking for someone to come in who knows the players and can potentially just go straight from get-go and go, he's been looking. You can't tell me he hasn't been looking at this team the entire time and going, I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have done this with Skamaka. I would have done this with Paqueta. Maybe I would have signed this.
Also with him. Sorry, mate, go on.
Yeah. Go on, Nick. Go on.
I said also with Warburton, looking at it from that point of view, he would have seen if there are rifts in the changing room with players and they've got grizzles, he will know what those rifts are. So he would probably know quite quickly how to maybe make players happy again. He might be able to sort of implement the style of play. He might be able to. There might be some quick fixes for him, because I do think that a lot of what's happened this year, and that is what is so maddening. It's so frustrating. I do think that Moyes would have run his course anyway, but I think it's all come to an abrupt end because he's just been so fucking stubborn, and his refusal to correct little things, dropping players when they've been out of form, stuff like that. You're just like, fucking, why have you done this to yourself?
What do we think about the fact that Warburton is a first team coach? And if what Charlie said there, if Warburton's sitting back and seeing all of these things happening, is he telling Moyes? Is he advising Moyes, or is he purely there as a backseat passenger?
But if Charlie's right and he's an attacking-minded manager, they're not going to get on anyway, are they? In terms of, because their football philosophies are going to cross. They're going to cross over.
How's he got the job?
I don't know.
It's another story, isn't it?
Well, apparently at the time he was being lined up to be Birmingham's manager.
Well, exactly. So it's a job
and there
for
was
the
all
boys
that
again,
thing with Sullivan and everything else, and he came in. That was a rumor anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
I think. Don't get me wrong. It's not. The thing is, and Warburton, Rafa, whoever you say in this situation, and if you asked me between the two, I would still probably say Rafa has a better chance of keeping us up because Warburton has some sort of level of risk. But there is no right option at this point. Because it has gone on too long and it is too late. There is no right option. You just have to make the best call you can given the bad options in front of you. Because you can't, the likes of Tuchel, Potts, all these people who get mentioned all the time, they're just unrealistic for West Ham at this point. At this specific
they are
point
now.
in time,
they are
unrealistic.
Yeah.
I think they always was.
And you have to.
I don't know.
And you have to ask yourself who's the best option. And I think there is no right one, which is the most frustrating thing about it.
But how much more attractive would we have been if it had done this before the World Cup?
Well, they've learnt nothing. They've learnt nothing in 13 years. This is exactly what they did with Avram Grant in their first season.
If you interview a manager will want some sort of assurances, money to spend, the way you can run the club, you don't get involved in it and all that. They cannot give assurances that someone like Pochettino or Tuchel would want, because they want yes men. And that's why, in my opinion, the majority of the managers we've had have been people trying to prove themselves or rebuild a career somewhat. Or something like that.
Pellegrini wasn't, but he didn't last long, did he?
That is still my only thread of hope that they might be getting rid of Moyes. They just want the window to slam shut without shelling out for a load of players. But then the Danny Ings thing has blown that out of the water. That theory.
It has, but I know we've got gaps in the squad. I know we need players. I know we do, but I am sorry. We've got enough in that squad to get us to keep us safe.
Definitely,
we've got enough without, because there are no other ambitions now. I mean, you've got the Europa Conference League, but the leagues is fucked now. We're not going to do anything in a league. But the only other thing to talk about there is, if February goes as we expect it will, and all of a sudden you are in a bona fide, confirmed relegation battle, you can kiss goodbye to any hope that we're going to try and do anything in the Europa Conference League. That's just going to become a hindrance because then we've got a disadvantage with all the other teams that are down there because all of a sudden we're playing Thursday, Sunday football.
You're right, but sometimes a good run in the cup can help you form in the league. It can.
Momentum.
Yeah.
That's what you hope.
So we're nearly at 2.5 hours, Nick.
We are. We're gonna let you go, Charlie. Thank you very much for the call in, mate.
Cheers, Charlie.
Cheers, Charlie.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Good show all. Enjoy yourselves. If everyone hasn't subscribed already, what are you doing? Subscribe. Come on, guys.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And I'm sure that there isn't a single person on here that doesn't know about Hammers Chat. But if you don't, go over and give Hammers Chat a look as well.
Yeah, we watch them all the time.
Yeah.
We do.
I don't really know.
Tiny channel, not working.
Tiny channel. That little channel, Hammers Chat. Yeah.
You know what? Charlie
appreciate
needs,
everyone.
You know what Charlie needs an award for though?
Go on.
Doing all those watch-alongs and making it entertaining.
Fuck me.
I'll tell you what,
Charlie, how many
is
you? No, but Charlie, you haven't missed a watch along, have you?
No.
Last season we did every single one, and we've missed since we started doing them at the beginning of lockdown. We've missed 2, one because of work and one because I literally couldn't get out of it.
No excuse.
But yeah, it's. I'll say this.
That is impressive.
It's not great. It's not great.
No.
Don't do it. No one, don't do it. Trust me. Having to sit there and talk about flipping West Ham non-stop for several hours while it's happening in front of your eyes. No.
Yeah, but you've seen me post-match. You can imagine what would happen with me if I did a watch-along, but the fucking channel would be closed down after about a week. You know? I don't think it'd be a very good watch, to be honest.
That's why you have to get a cutout of Danny DeVito to stand next to you, because that way you can just distract yourself with literally anything else.
Charlie, just before you go, mate, I'll leave this up there for you. Look.
A-side there, look. Bye, Charlie. Love you. There you go.
Thanks, E-sides.
There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Charlie sounds sarcastic.
He does. But anyway, Charlie, thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Cheers,
Enjoy
mate.
it. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, nice call. Fucking horrible bastards in the chat.
Yeah.
Someone
come on.
Someone did make me laugh though. They said Charlie got off the cross to come and do this call. You know, like Jesus.
He's a hairy man. He's a hairy man.
He's a hairy man.
He's a hairy man.
I always think he should be a wrestler.
Yes. Yeah.
He loves wrestling. You know
he
that.
does. Yeah. He's got another channel.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, he loves that. Loves a bit of WWE. But anyway, Gary, go on, wrap it up.
Yeah. What? So I have to wrap it up as well as host it.
You haven't hosted. You've done fuck all. You ain't done nothing.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll host next week if you remind me that you hosted this week.
But I will say thank you to 99% of the people, apart from you, a few of you that were bickering in there tonight.
Yeah. No, thanks all for joining. Thanks for all your comments. It's been a fun show actually. Another 2.5 hours on a Sunday night, nearly 11 o'clock. Long week ahead. West Ham tomorrow night. What more could you ask for? You doing a post-match show tomorrow, Nick?
Hey?
Doing a post-match show tomorrow?
I will be. Yeah, I will be.
Good stuff.
Are
So
you
you
doing
see,
it?
I know.
Yeah, I think Nick's doing a deadline day 18-hour show as well.
yeah,
It's Black Country banter's fine, but that weren't all banter that was in that chat. All right, it weren't. Okay, banter is fun. We like a bit of piss taking.
We love,
but
banter.
come on.
Yeah.
Dougie wants a show. Yes, Dougie, there will be a show. Calm yourself down, mate.
Yeah. And what? So we're gonna do a thingy. Oh no, I can't do it on Tuesday anyway. Tuesday is when the window closes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can do it with John. You two can do it.
What?
Tuesday night window show.
Maybe we'll see.
Yes.
Because
Won't be many
there is a
goings
chance.
on.
There is a
Won't be
chance
no
we might
goings
sign
on
a player. We might sign a player or two this time. You never know. It might be something to talk about.
I might go down to Rush Green and stand.
He's going to go down to deadline day now. Are you going to do that this time, John?
No.
No, you're not going to do it now.
All right. Well, look, we're plenty of shows this week together with our rambles, and we will be back next weekend for the Newcastle game. After Nick will be ranting after that as well, and then we'll be back next Sunday. It's going to be a busy week of shows.
Very busy week.
Thank you all for joining. See you soon, and come on, you irons.
Gavin, you irons.
Hit the like button, you muppets.
Yes, please.
Come on, you irons.